Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Let's Talk Movies podcast with me, John, and David, a.k.a. Shamrock Balls. And today here on the channel, we're going to be talking about, a very fun 1980s action movie and one of my personal favorite actors of all time, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and one of his best vehicles of the 80s, Commando. And David, what do you think of Commando?
Okay, John. So it actually slipped my mind. Did you have a birthday earlier on in the month?
I did.
Yes. You don't mind me asking, what age were you?
I turned 33.
You're getting old, John. You're getting old.
I was waiting to see where this week would go.
Listen, there were so many to choose from.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? Could have went with "Let's Party" or do you know what I was actually originally going to go for? I was going to actually say to you, John, are you ready?
Yeah.
And I'd say, John, I'll be ready, John.
Oh,
Bennett.
Bennett.
Oh, he's so good in this movie, John.
Oh my God. One of the most, he's like, if Arnold's doing that, I got to ham it up even more.
And something about Arnold in this movie, he looked genuinely scared of Bennett in this film. I don't think Arnie was doing too much acting.
No, honestly, the acting in this movie is the first thing you notice right away. Is not great. It's not really the best action movie from anybody from top to bottom. No, you're there for this. This is just an 80s cheese fest through and through. Kind of like what you think of Arnold Schwarzenegger when people are satiring him or making fun of him.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of it comes from like the Commando era, because this is only 1 year after the Terminator, so that was like his big acting break. And really, the Conan movies, he's not asked to do a lot, but in this movie, I mean, he's the star.
Yeah, I mean, like McBain is 100% mainly based on this movie. Obviously, it's based on a lot of what came after as well, but off of the back of this. But you can really see the influences of McBain in this. But what I actually think of this movie, John, is that I absolutely love this film. Again, I go back to when I was growing up in the 80s when Arnold Schwarzenegger was at the peak of his powers, when he had movies like coming out like Predator and Twins and Kindergarten Cop, and T2 was maybe on the horizon. And it was kind of like people always talked about Commando. And of course, it is an 18. So I had never seen it, but when it came on television, I remember watching it, and it was really cut to shreds. It was really, a lot of the violence and the bad language was cut out. And I remember at the time I would say not overly liking it, just not being too impressed by it. But I think a lot of the tongue-in-cheek and the over-the-top stuff and some of the comedic lines went completely over my head at that particular time. So many years later, just like we touched on in the James Bond podcast, ITV2 or something was showing a lot of older movies, and there it was. So I decided to record it, and I watched it one night and absolutely loved it, and then had to go out and buy a Blu-ray.
Yeah, and I was telling you, like, I've been waiting for a 4K Blu-ray for this, so that's why I'm like, I don't even have the Blu-ray. I bought it digitally so I can watch it a couple times before this. It needs a 4K Blu-ray in the worst way, not the highest of quality from the 1980s, because the whole movie itself is very, very gritty. It's not like we were talking before the show. It's not like you're gonna sit there, pause this movie, and go, "Wow, that's a beautiful looking shot."
Yeah, I mean, it's just so fast paced from the very, very opening of the movie. It goes a million miles an hour, but you never feel the pace. But I mean, as it flies in, but it's so enjoyable and so rewatchable again. It's the type of movie that once I watch it, I could just put it on again once it's over. I mean, I never get bored watching this film. And as I say, it's very much of its time, of course. I think it's basically trying to riff a lot on what came within the early 80s, as in First Blood. I think Rambo 2 came out the same year as this, earlier in the year. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say there's also a Rambo 2 tie-in, like basically with the score, essentially. The James Horner scores reused a lot of motifs from 48 Hours that are used in this movie and also in Rambo 2. Which I think they're all produced by Joel Silver too, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think they are. I'm not sure if it's Rambo. I'm not sure if Rambo.
Well, it'd be Rambo 2. So I'm not too sure. That might be the same studio, but like for some reason that James Horner does all those scores, and like he uses motifs from 48 Hours. And then I get used again in Rambo 2 and also in another 48 Hours, but that makes sense.
Are you sure that James Horner does Rambo 2? I thought it was Jerry Goldsmith.
Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing. I could be.
Jerry Goldsmith done the original, done First Blood.
James
and there's certainly he done the sequel as well.
48. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what it was? It's another Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Red Heat.
Red Heat. Yeah, which is one that I haven't seen of Arnie's, but like I agree with the James Horner score as well. I noticed certain motifs. Actually, there's a scene in the movie which sounds exactly like Aliens, which would be at a year after this.
That's true. Yeah, well, I guess he was just reusing stuff. I mean, that's not something that's uncommon. And another thing we were discussing is like this is very much a studio system type of film. Like,
Yes.
you get a hard budget. It's Joel Silver, like a lot like Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson, one of the big action movie producers of his time. It's like, okay, we're gonna come in there, hire Mark Lester. Like Mark Lester's like, that's not like a big name director. It's got like 4 writers. It's clearly like, all right, we're gonna design a movie. Even though I don't think he was the initial person they had originally cast was Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it's clearly feels like a vehicle for him.
Yeah, well, just like we talked about in the Mask podcast, apparently the writer wrote it kind of for Arnold Schwarzenegger. They wanted to create a larger a movie for him that was based around his character of being larger than life. So their whole idea was, let's create this action hero who is over the top, larger than life, that fits Arnold's persona. And one thing I want to point out about the movie is that that's the thing about this era of action hero. They're doing things that you probably can't do in real life, but it's
Oh no.
believable. Yeah, because it's believable, John. But because when you look at somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger, you go to yourself, I could believe he could do that, even though he probably couldn't. For example, the phone booths scene where he actually lifts the phone booth and throws it with Sully inside. If I can remember correctly, on the day of filming, they said the Arnold, just lift it and just throw it. And he went, what? And they went, you can just lift it, throw it. And Arnold actually had to say to him, who do you think I am? They actually believed that he could do it. And in the end, they had to make like a lightweight one for him to throw over. Because even though he's a very strong guy and lift things, he was like, I can't lift that, throw it. So that was the whole basis of the movie, was kind of this tongue-in-cheek, over-the-top action movie. And in my opinion, kind of riffing on Rambo First Blood. Not so much Rambo 2, because that came out in the same year, so it's very hard to actually believe that they stole from that or took from that unless they had inside information.
I mean, I know what you're thinking because, like, with the Colonel showing up, that feels very similar to like how exactly in First Blood, like this guy who's handling this like one man killing machine. But unlike First Blood, which I think is a phenomenal, well made,
Yes.
dramatic film, this is not. There's no drama in this movie. Yes, his daughter gets kidnapped, but do we believe that his daughter is going to be killed at all in this movie from the very beginning? Is there really any drama in that?
Well, it's kind of like, like a monster movie. It's not even, the monster's going to be destroyed at the end, but it's the journey you take to get to that. That's what
Yeah.
you're invested in. And it's like this movie, you're invested on that journey that Arnold is going on to see how he's going to take the bad guys out. And how he's going to rescue his daughter. But yeah, you said about the Colonel, and like, to me, that's directly taken out of First Blood. I'm near certain
They're
to
wearing
say,
the same outfit, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not in the army. I don't know what these guys, if they all wear the same uniforms. Like my dad was in the army, but I'm not going in there and calling him up and fact checking him. Be like, Dad, is that a colonel? Is this accurate of the time?
I'm watching Commando. Can you tell me, is this real? Your dad would be like, what are you talking about?
Although my dad was in the U.S. Army in 1985 when this, so I should ask him if he knew him.
Yeah, John Matrix. You know John Matrix, General Kirby, but or Bennett. But no, but there's a line in this movie which is nearly identical to First Blood. I can't remember the exact line in First Blood because it's been
I mean, this
few months
movie
since I watched it.
lifts so many lines from other movies that
Yeah,
Arnold did alone.
the lady says about what do you expect, and the general says World War III. Does the colonel not say, or the general not say that in First Blood or something? Something about there's going to be
something
World
about, I
War
think he
III?
said preventing World War III if he doesn't like stop him or something like that.
It's definitely something.
Yeah, he definitely
So
does say World War III in it though, and like the guy kind of looks like him. It's not like he's like that different.
yeah, exactly. So I think that they really are riffing on that, and I think as well. But to your point about you were saying about like the acting and things like that, I do agree that in this watching this again, as we say, with a critical eye for the podcast, like Arnold is so raw as an actor. He's I love him in this film. Like we just said, the film was kind of tailored to him. Just like the Terminator was kind of tailored to him, but he does a good job playing a robot. But this is tailored to him, but his acting is really dodgy at times. But you forgive it for that because of the action, and the brilliant dial. I love the dialogue in the movie, the cheesy dialogue, the cheesy one-liners. They're flying out of everywhere, and it's for that. It's so fun. You can forgive it for that.
Yeah, it knows what it is. I mean, we're gonna get into the movie in a second, but the opening credits give away what kind of tone this movie is going to be. And if you're not into like 80s cheese, you're not going to appreciate a movie like this because it's telling you from the very beginning, like, this is going to be a cheesy 80s movie. If you're not on board with that, probably get off the ride. No one's going to be taking this stuff too seriously. Our main antagonist is wearing like metal mesh stuff everywhere he goes.
And yes, that's the thing. You have to go into this with not to take it too seriously, but like you say, like it does really set the tone for that from the opening. Now we'll get into it in a second, but well, I don't want to go too far, but yes, first of all, the mesh suit that Bennett is wearing in the movie. Now, from what I'm led to believe is that he wasn't the original choice to play the bad guy. I'm not sure who was, but apparently the guy was a lot bigger than him, and they actually didn't get time to retail suit, the costume, the wardrobe to Vernon Wales' size, and so it was just kind of like patched together.
It looks like it.
And he ends up looking like one of the village people. I remember people saying this for years, and fair play to him, he said it himself. People saying that he looks a lot like Freddie Mercury. But he did say in one of the making-ofs on the Blu-ray, he says, "I'm not Freddie Mercury on steroids."
Freddie Mercury. The look on him, and I read something. I mean, I guess I'll save this more for that. But it's just crazy how he looks in this movie. I'm just trying to make sure I get all the names of everybody right, because what a cast, all the way from top to bottom, of actors you might not realize pop up in this movie. But just seeing Vernon Wells play that character, I mean, that mustache, that's all Freddie Mercury. If he started, or just even Judas Priest, like that, the clothes he's wearing.
Yeah, he's so good. Yeah, just a wee bit about the pre-production was, I believe that the reason it actually got greenlit in the end was because the studio needed a hit, and they just said, let's just push Commando in the production. So that's how they got the green light just to make this film. And I believe the budget was around $10 million.
Yeah, I think it was 10 and it made, I think, like 33 at the box office. So it was a pretty minor hit at the time. And then obviously now it's considered one of Arnold's classics.
Well, but I looked up Wiki, it said 57 and a half.
Oh, yeah, 57 and a half. That's not a 3, that's a 5.
yeah.
So I made that 5 times his budget.
Listen, movies in the 80s, John, the big black box office smashes, you know what I mean? Like the likes of the Spielberg movies and all, and the Star Wars movies, maybe $20-25 million budgets. They were making $250 million. This was a movie that was restricted. It was an 18. And I think for a movie for a $10 million budget to make near $60 million, that's a big hit. I mean, if you look at the likes of the Terminator, maybe it only took a fraction to make the Terminator. But if you even look at movies like RoboCop, you know what I mean, around a similar budget a couple of years later, I think RoboCop made around the same, $55 million. It's considered a smash. But I think, like everything, these movies have kind of grown in status over the years. They became cult hits because of the VHS, because of the video store, because of video rentals. I think this is the type of movie that you probably found a lot of teenagers rented during the 80s, and it really built up this fandom for this movie. Movies like this, The Terminator, and things like that. So again, that's where they probably made a lot of money off the back of the release of Commando as well.
Oh yeah, I think people were probably going on like little Arnold marathons in the late 80s. Like every year, Arnold had a different vehicle come out for him. Pretty much like every, whether it be the year after Terminator, then he did have Red Heat, Kindergarten Cop, Twins, Total Recall. Like these are all back to back years. Like, eventually he ends up in 1991 and Terminator 2 is coming out. But the guy every single year had a movie come out. For the most part, he's the star of them. Like Terminator, he was the star, but he doesn't have too much to speak about, like, as far as speaking lines. But eventually here, like this is when you kind of like people start doing impressions of Arnold, mainly because it's like this guy of all people, he's always the hero of these movies with his very thick accent. I love that they make sure to point out like when he was growing up in West Germany. I'm like, because later on, when we get to like the Jingle All the Ways of the world, where it's like his guy's name is Harry, and it's like, this guy is not an American.
Yeah, I do know it's funny you should say it, because I actually thought to myself watching this movie, because in the Terminator, he doesn't have too much dialogue. I'm not a big Conan the Barbarian fan. I'm not really a fan at all, to be honest. I watched the movie and didn't really like it. But the thing is that the Terminator is playing a robot, so he's very monotone. So this is the first movie where, as you said, he had to kind of act. And that was part of the reason for him taking the movie on. was because when it was pitched to him, it was kind of like he thought to himself, I like this movie. I'm not I'm not a barbarian. I'm not a caveman. I'm not running about with my clothes off. He says, I'm not a robot covered in flesh, a machine covered in human flesh. And he says, I'm like John Wayne. I'm wearing regular clothes. I've got a daughter. He could see the humanity in the character he was playing rather than the other characters he played up until then. And that's what attracted him to it. But I kind of noticed how a lot thicker his Austrian accent was in this movie compared to those movies you named later on after this. Not in a bad way, just it just seemed to be more watered down the further he went into his career in the 80s.
Yeah, I wonder if he just got, probably, I'm sure, knowing Arnold Schwarzenegger, because like he's a very smart man. I'm sure as time went on, he was working on his dialogue and getting better and, being a better actor. Like, yeah, this
Yeah.
is probably like, this is early in his like really Hollywood acting career. Like, he's only really done at this point just the Conan movies, Terminator, and then this. So like, I'm sure like as far as like dialect goes, he was still trying to master it. Because I remember when we did the Terminator, we talked about like with the "I'll be back" or "I will be back" because he was doing dialogue. Like, oh, he should say it like this. So I'm sure as time was going on, he was still doing the same thing, working on how he speaks.
Yeah, exactly. And the girl, I don't have her name here, who plays Sydney in the movie, on the special feature, she said that Arnold never said this, but she says, I'm near certain he was trying to do Sean Connery impression with his one-liners.
Sean Connery. Yeah, I mean, I can see his one-liners are incredible in this movie. Every one of them hits for me. Some of them are directly taken right out of Terminator, which is funny.
Yeah, well, I noticed that as well. Like, it was kind of like, okay, we'll get it, but there's certain lanes which become a catchphrase for him, but there's a couple of other lanes as well, which I went,
yeah, like some of the smaller ones.
Yeah.
And Cindy's played by Ray Dawn Chung, her name, which
yeah,
you know who she's the daughter of, right?
No.
Tommy Chung of Cheech and Chong.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. Yeah. So Tommy Chung. So if you know Cheech and Chong, like that's her father. I mean, they look nothing alike, but that's his biological daughter.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't know that now. And what was I going to say? You're saying about Arnold's one-liners. I have to say, like, there's several of them in this have really good one-liners. I have to say, Vernon Wells, I love all his one-liners, and I think that Ray
Dawn Chong,
John, I think she has some really good one-liners in the movie as well.
Yeah, I feel like her father's playing a joke on her. I don't understand. I mean, that's what he's got a weed sense of humor, I guess. But I don't know what he's thinking. But I think we got to get into the movie and start banging out these one-liners because there's a ton.
There's a lot to get through, so there is. But as I was saying earlier, as I said earlier, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. We're talking about the tone of the movie and how it sets the tone up. However, this opening scene, when you see the bin lorry, as we call it over here,
the garbage man over here.
You call it the garbage man. We call it bin lorry. We'll call it garbage man because it is in the States, John. So we see that coming over the hill, and this first scene here, it always kind of reminds me of like maybe the start of a Beverly Hills Cop movie.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I mean, I know you're a big Sopranos fan, but the way that this was in the cul-de-sac and like the long driveway down to the end, it looked like Tony Soprano's driveway, and especially like there is a scene with Tony Soprano on the show in his bathrobe bringing the cans down to the curb. So I was like, oh, it kind of reminded me of that. But yeah, I can see what you're saying about Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, because I just think this opening scene, the tone of that is a wee bit more of that kind of 80s thriller movie. And at that stage, if you haven't seen this before, you're thinking, oh, is this the tone? And then we soon find out when the credits roll, it's not. But yeah, so as you say, it's two guys hanging off the back of this garbage truck, and that cuts to a man in bed with this. I have to say, he's very, very, very beautiful looking blonde. I was thinking he was punching above his weight. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. This guy, he's a slob. He doesn't deserve that, but he clearly has money because where they were living.
Yeah, I know the terrible thing is he's bald and everything.
Yeah, I know. You look better.
Man?
You look better than him, David. You're in better shape than that.
Thanks
Don't
very
sell
much,
yourself short.
I appreciate it. And yeah, and of course, as they hear the bin truck coming, and they think that it's the bin day, but it's obviously not. So he runs out with the trash cans, and we see that Bill Duke is one of the guys hanging off the back of the bin lorry, and another guy, and he comes running down with a rubbish. And I think he's, as you said, he got a newspaper under his arm.
Yeah, I think he probably grabbed it like in the morning, like he's got the robe on. Like honestly, that's something I always wanted to do when I bought a house was have the paper delivered and be able to walk down there in my bathrobe.
Yeah. Do they even have paper boys anymore?
I probably not. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't even know who gets the paper anymore. Unfortunately, it's sad to say, but everything's online.
Yeah, do you know, funny enough, I was on the bus last week, the week before, and I just was getting into work, and I was looking around, and like 80% of the people's just sitting on their phones, and I've got my earphones in listening to music, and I'm just looking around, and like everybody's on their phone, and there's this one guy with a newspaper going through his newspaper, and I was like, "There's a throwback, there's a blast from the past." You don't see that often.
No, no. It's. I mean, some people still buy the paper, but it's not often anymore. It's a shame. It used to be a staple of life. Everybody had the paper.
Oh yeah, exactly. I remember reading the paper every day when I was working because there always used to be one in the canteen. You just sit and look through it, read the stories in it. But yeah, Bill Duke says, or the guy comes down and he says, "I was afraid you missed me." And Bill Duke says to him, "Don't worry, we won't." And pulls out an Uzi, I think, and
Yeah,
shoots
they
him
both
dead.
got Uzis and shoot him dead. Yeah.
And it's real valid because like not only does he shoot him once he's on the ground, he shoots him again, and they throw the Uzis in the back of the truck and they take off. And then it cuts to the car showroom, and there's Bill Duke sitting in the car showroom. This guy's showing him the car, and I love this other one liner again.
This is
I
a
like
great
some of
one-liner.
Bill Duke says to him, "Know what I like best? What's that? The price."
And then just drives out the showroom out of the. And this is what I was first thinking. I'm like, you got two crimes that this guy's committed, I guess, in the same morning, because this is how they start the movie. And I'm like, nobody was able to catch this guy at all. Like, I feel like you drive through a showroom. I mean, I don't know what
Yeah.
the cameras are like in the 80s, but I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to find them.
See, I think that I know what you're saying, and I think that and maybe I'm looking too deeply here, but I think the bin truck's a good cover.
That's
I
true
think
too.
it really, because I mean, like, why in the area? Well, we're bin there, we're collecting the bins. There's no
Uh,
weapons on us. There's only garbage in the back here.
it's it's also cool to see Bill Duke. Like Bill Duke would work again with later with Arnold and Predator. So it's like I wonder if they must have had a good working relationship with each other and knew each other well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just great to see Bill Duke in this. I like him better in Predator, but he's good in this.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then of course we cut to the end of the docks, and we see Vernon Wales walking down to his boat, Bennett walking down to his boat, and then we see the two bad guys again. We see he's like a Mexican-looking bad guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
One of the guys.
Yeah, one of the guys, and then the main guy is supposed to be a Spanish guy too, the main boss, right?
Yeah, so it could be. It's obviously maybe he's from the same area he's from, but then you also see Bill Duke, and that's when you go to yourself, what's going to happen to Vernon Wales? But I love how Vernon Wales kind of just looks back and gives a wee smile, and he drives off on his boat, and you see Demons take out the detonator and they blow the boat up. But I always wonder, how the hell did he survive that?
Yeah, I don't know how he's supposed to survive that either. It's just we're just supposed to buy in that he's a lot like Arnold.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I think his whole premise, I was going to get that later, but his whole premise in the movie is that he's better than anyone that the bad guy. I think his name is General Uriz or something, or Uris.
His name is General Ernesto Aris, and it's played by Dan Hedaya, who I'll always know. You ever seen the movie Clueless? He plays the dad in that.
Oh, I haven't seen Clueless since I've seen it in the cinema in the 90s.
Yeah, I think you've probably heard me go on and on. Like that's Fate's favorite movie, so I've seen that movie way too many times than I ever imagined myself seeing that movie. But yeah, he plays the dad. So every time I see those eyes in this movie, I'm like, oh my god, the dad from Clueless.
Well, I seen him in. I seen it in the cinema many moons ago. I don't think it's one that I want to revisit. So
It's much more like it's a good movie, but it's definitely like a chick flick is the best. Like it's still a good high school coming of age movie, but it's definitely more geared towards the female audience. But unfortunately, I mean, well, not unfortunately, but fortunately, I am married, and if it's my wife's favorite movie, much like I forced the Terminator on her more times than she ever imagined, she has forced Clueless on me more times than I had hoped.
yeah, well, that's understandable. Give and take and all that, John.
Yeah, no, she knows
Yeah,
everything there is to know about the T800 model, Cyberdyne System Model 101.
and you know everything about Clueless.
Yeah, like Dan Hedaya.
Exactly. But yeah, so we also see Bill Duke there, and oh yeah, that's what I was saying. Sorry, we got past that wee bit. So basically, I was saying, how did he escape? And his whole, to me, Bennett's whole premise throughout the whole movie is he's better than any person that General Aries has working under him. He almost looks down his nose at them. You see that later on in the movie when he tells him about, me and Matrix take out your whole crew at the blink of an eye. And in some ways they are. So he is kind of Arnie's equal. But how he gets out of that exploding boat, whether or not he's hiding in a hatch underneath with steel plates so it doesn't kill him, or you know what I'm saying? And then that he comes out later, or does he sneak out and jump in the water? I don't know. But then the music starts. We see the hills, and then we see feet walking, and then a big muscle, a big bicep, and it's Arnie. He's carrying this big ass log
a whole tree. It looks like
on his shoulder, just telling you like this guy is so strong. He's carrying almost a full tree, and do you notice? But when he first walks down, he stops. He actually blocks out the sun. So it's like that's how big he is. He's blocking out the sun. The James Horner music then starts to kick in. Now, you know how I like my soundtracks, and I got to go into the James Horner soundtrack first. Now, this soundtrack is so out of place, but it fucking works.
it does. It doesn't make sense. It only would work in this 80s movie.
Yeah, like he's got steel drums playing, like it's some kind of tropical Caribbean movie, and then he's got like the horns, and then he's got like a wee drum machine playing as well, like that typical kind of 80s drum machine, and of course some of the electronic music through it as well. But then a saxophone starts playing. And but I fucking love it. It's brilliant, and it's almost like a precursor to Lethal Weapon.
It is with the saxophone. I was like, oh my god, Lethal Weapon took some. Joel Silver also produced Lethal Weapon, so that's always pretty funny there too. But yeah, the tropical steel drums is what throws me off about this movie the most, because I mean, I guess Valverde, where they go to, is supposed to, but it never feels like a tropical location at all. I mean, for the most part, this movie just takes place in the streets, if anything.
And the audio is bing, 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 bing. And it is. It's this like, but I love it. I absolutely love this score. This has to be for me one of my favorite James Horner scores, John.
It works for this movie completely. Everything about it is like the perfect tone. Whatever they're going for, it actually works. It matches up.
Yeah, and of course, so he next cuts to him chopping wood, and we see this shadow coming in, and you're thinking like, oh fuck, who's this creeping up on Arnie here? And he sees he sees a reflection on the blade, and then he turns and it's his daughter, and he lifts her up, and that's when the music kind of changes to this kind of like homely, kind of nice kind of music.
And then it goes into this ridiculous, and I mean ridiculous, father-daughter montage. And I was thinking, I wanted to ask you while we were on here. I mean, you're a dad with a single dad with a daughter. I mean, obviously she has her mother still, but still, do you and your daughter do things like this all the time? Do you grab her and jump in the pool like that with your big giant arms?
Yeah, every weekend, John. Every weekend. No, but do you notice when he turns around and he says there, I surrender. It's so cheesy. And this is when you should know what the tone of this movie is, because you have them eating ice cream together, and he gives her a wee bit of his, and then she goes to give her a wee bit of hers, and she hits him in the nose, and he's sitting laughing. Oh, you're so funny. And then it cuts to him teaching her martial arts, and then feeding a deer. Like everybody feeds a deer.
I know, because I approach those all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And then fishing, and then they're in the pool. They're having a great time, and he's kind of throwing her, and he's laughing and joking, and it is. Yes, it's trying to show you just how much of a doting father he is, how much he loves his daughter, and I think it is laying on the cheese at the same time.
It's just because it's Arnold, man. It's just like this big hulking of a man, like playing around with his daughter like that. It looks very out of place. And then the ice cream thing is ridiculous. Can you imagine like the two of them filming that day? All right, yeah, put the ice cream on her, and then Arnold's serving man.
It is like it's such as like I'm gonna say fake laugh. It's supposed to be real, but it looks so fake.
Yeah, and for him, it might be real, but it's just like in like T2 where he's like learning how to smile, and he's like, all right, we'll work on that. And it's like it just looks weird on him.
Yeah, that's one scene why I prefer the theatrical cut of T2, or I like the theatrical cut. Yeah, so yeah, it's a brilliant opening, and it does it. This just sets the tone. The music's great, and then it goes into the scene in the kitchen, and this, again the cheese continues. He goes and gets the drink out of the kitchen, and he noticed that his daughter has made him a heart, which says, I love you, Dad. Now, you just asked me about my daughter. My daughter done things like that for me. So she does. She would make things saying "I love you" and stuff on it. She's very very artsy like me. Loves creating stuff. Likes making things, and likes to impress her dad with her art because I'm good at art, right? But the thing is that I think that this girl in this movie is too old for things like that, just by a couple of years, and that's the weird thing.
I could see that. I thought that was a little weird too. I'm wondering if it was because I don't know if this is her first movie or not, but it's Alyssa Milano, who was very like a teen idol at the time. I was wondering if you had any relationship to her, but I guess maybe not, since you kind of were questioning her. Like she was a
Nah.
big like teen star at the time.
Yeah. It wasn't until I revisited this movie, John, that I heard, oh, this girl's Melissa, whatever you call her, and I looked her up, man, I still don't know her. So I don't. Maybe it was one of those things where maybe I was a bit too young. Like I said, I watched this Commando when I was very young on the TV. It was all edited out, and I never went back to it again until about, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah, and she's probably a little bit older than you, so like, yeah, she probably like passed you by, and like you don't really like if you didn't really know her. Like I didn't really know her either. Like, but I was also younger, so like by the time I was around and she was already an adult and everything. But from what I
Yeah.
understand, she was a pretty big child actor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this film is 85. She does look, about 11 or 12, maybe 10 at the youngest, but maybe 11 or 12 in the movie. So that means she was born in the mid 70s. So probably just a wee bit older than, obviously older than me. I was born 81, so I probably missed that.
Yeah, he probably meant that's because like I always kind of felt like she was a little bit too old too. Like she's very like for the things that she's doing with him, it makes it seem like more like a 6-year-old child. They kind of put like
Yes.
6-year-old clothes on her too.
Exactly. So that's what I thought too. I thought does she look a bit old fat, but at the same time, she's Arnie notices. I keep gonna keep calling him Arnie. I'm gonna have to remember to call him Matrix because I prefer to call him Matrix rather than
Yeah.
Arnie. We just
John
put the M
Matrix
in front
is
of it.
a long line of cool Arnold Schwarzenegger names. That's an awesome name.
Oh, it's so good. It is so good. So yeah, so he notices the heart and he's all chuffed over it. And she's making sandwiches and he puts the drinks out and he sits down at the table and he opens up like her teen magazine. Now, I don't know. I don't know if you can still get teen magazines. I wasn't into them, but I do know they existed back in the 80s and the 90s. For obviously teenagers, and as far as I'm aware, they had information about will you get boy band ones, couldn't you, and things like that.
Oh yeah, they're popular. I remember like people like I never read them. I never cared for them because I knew just who they were geared at, and I'm like, I don't want to be like spoken down to. So I always bothered me about those kinds of magazines.
Yeah, I was in the movie magazines. I
Yeah,
subscribed to Empire for many years, but I was older than that. I was like maybe 17, 18, subscribed to Empire for years. But yeah, those type of magazines were kind of like you would get like pullouts and stuff when you see 80s movies and you see like posters all over like teenagers' walls of like, for example, who was the big heartthrobs in the 80s? I don't know, like
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp and I've seen like musical ones like The Police and
I guess Sting can be a good-looking guy.
yeah, but that's where they used to get these posters from these teen magazines, and then they plaster their walls with them. And of course, Arnie flips it open and he makes a comment. He says, "Why don't they just call them Girl George? It would cut down on all the confusion." I think. Now, disclaimer: there's going to be some bad Arnold Schwarzenegger impressions during this podcast today. Um,
Absolutely.
you definitely that's the start of it. That's just one, which I find really funny that Boy George is being referenced in an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Of all things, really. I mean, it's an '80s movie through and through, every which way you spin it.
But I have to say, like Boy George was in an episode of the A Team, so
I mean, hey, I like Boy George's music. I'll tell him before he is a classic.
yeah, he does some good tunes. So next thing is, I love how Arnie's eating a sandwich and he's like, "Oh, what's this?" And she's like, "You don't want to know." And you hear him; he can hear the helicopter before anybody else can. You see him; his eyes kind of narrow, and then he turns, and then you hear the helicopter. He heard it before anybody else, and they get up and they look out the window and they see the helicopter coming, and Johnny asks why the helicopter's there, and he asks her dad to promise that he isn't going to go away again.
Yeah, Daddy's gonna have to break that promise, but for a good reason.
Yeah, exactly. So the helicopter flies in and lands, and the soldiers get out, and General Kirby calls out the John. So he does, and Arnie sneaks up behind him and takes his gun. And I love this line here where he turns and he says to Arnie, silent and smooth as always. And he turns smiling, and he's like shaking his hand. You see him shaking his hand, and he's
Oh,
kind of like, what's he say here? He says, "I better be. You
I
taught
learned.
me.
You taught me.
You taught me." He's like shaking him, and he's like, he's shaking his hand.
And like, so we know that they're really close.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. But he tells them they have a problem, that somebody's killing his men. And Arnie says to him, but you give them all new identities. Who's doing it? And I love how he says to him, you've enemies all over the world, John. It could have been the Syrians, the South Africans, the Russians, a terrorist group.
Any of them.
It could be any of them. And he says, Jackson or Horace are here. They're going to watch over you. He says, we're going to nail these bastards before they get to you. And he's like, are they any good? And he's like, real good, but not as good as you were.
Yeah, that's how we know right away. He was the best. And believe me, he will prove it.
Oh, 100%. Because as the helicopter flies off, one of the bad guys, the Spanish or Mexican looking guy, he comes out of the bushes and opens up with a machine gun and kills one of the soldiers, wounds the other one. Of course, Arnie senses this as well. He senses it before anybody else knows that they're there, and he grabs Jenny and he runs into the house, and they're lying in the hallway. And he asks the soldier, he says, how bad are you hit? And he says, not bad. And he says, I need to get to my shed to get my gun. But again, that's what he says about him sensing everything before everybody else, because he says to him, remember the downwind, the air tipped them off. And he says to him, the downwind? You think I can smell them? And Arnie says to him, I did.
He could smell everyone.
Yeah, so Johnny goes up there, bedroom, and hides, and Arnie runs to his shed, so he does, and we see like the boots coming in of into Johnny's bedroom, and we later find out that's Bennett's boots. They look very much like Artie's boots from Terminator 2, I think.
I thought yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then Arnie takes a gun from the shed, and he jumps up onto the roof and runs into Johnny's room, but she's gone, and one of the bad guys is sitting there and basically tells him that if he wants to see his daughter again, he has to cooperate. And Arnie tells him, wrong.
Which is right out of Terminator. And fires the gun the same exact way, too. Come on.
Yeah.
Right out of Terminator.
Yeah, that has to be a direct reference to the Terminator, without a doubt.
Yeah, that immediately that's across my mind. I mean, they have the same low angle on them.
Yeah, I would love to compare the two shots just to see.
Can't do that.
Wrong.
I mean, it sounds the same. It's Arnie's voice, but it does sound the same the way he says it. Wrong.
Yeah. This guy thought he was so clever too. I thought it's funny how you just blew him away immediately. He's sitting there with the heart and everything, and then he's like, you're gonna have to cooperate with us. No, I don't.
Yeah, and that was a surprise to me when I watched this recently, when I seen that scene, because like he's so confident in himself. He's just kind of like, he's sitting there on the chair. He's got his gun sitting beside him. And obviously they don't want to kill Matrix because they need him. That's the whole ploy. The ploy is they actually need him. But the thing is that, as you say, he thinks, yeah, you're going to cooperate. And he's like, just like, Ron, boom, blows him away. Brilliant. Straight out onto the roof. He sees the van and the car speed off down the road. And he runs down. He checks his own Jeep. And, of course, they have destroyed the inside. So he's no brakes. I'm no mechanic. I don't know what they've done. I've just seen a whole load of wires. But
so I've checked into this scene. That's a K5 Blazer, Chevy K5 Blazer. This entire scene is 110% impossible.
Are you sure?
Really, yeah. First of all, the car wouldn't drive like the way it drives down this hill, and he wouldn't be able to steer it. But forget it. If you're looking at the end, this I was talking about with like the editing being a little off. If you watch it, this truck's about to flip over about 4 times, but they cut away.
Yeah.
Still driving down this hill to get a dead angle on the car that's got his daughter.
Yeah. Well, Roy Scheider drives one of these in Jaws 2. I love this one. It's very nice. Yeah, very nice Jeep. Only it says Amity Police on the side. It's very nice. But I love, yes, as you say, when it's coming down the hill, I actually love how it's Bill Duke and one of the other bad guys are watching him, and they're like, he's coming at us, but he's no brakes. And he says to him, he's still coming, crazy bastard.
I don't believe he would actually do for it, but I mean, like we said earlier, and we saw the opening credits, he loves his daughter, so he's willing to do anything.
Oh, yes, exactly. He knows he needs to get her back as soon as possible. But of course, as you say, it crashes and he climbs out and the bad guys stop and he's surrounded by a bit of a fight ensues and they kind of subdue him. So they do. And then Vernon Wells appears in between the bad guys and Arnie's like, Bennett, and he's like, I thought you were, and he says, dead. He tells him that ever since you had me thrown out of your unit, I've wanted to pay you back. You know what the day is? Payday. Shoots him, and then it cuts to the next scene, and Arnie's lying on he's lying like on a table. But did you notice this only dawned on me last night when I was watching it again, John? Like, this is what we would have tongue in cheek. Arnie is that much of a beast. They couldn't just hold him down or tie him down with rope. He's tied down with a chain.
Yeah, I mean it's Arnold. You're gonna tie that guy down with rope. I mean, when we get to the plane scene, just to see how strong this man is.
Yeah, so he's down with a chain, and I love how the first thing Bennett comes in the frame again and says to him, "Tranquilize," and he's like, "I wanted to use the real thing." He's so angry, and then of course the main bad guy, General Iris, comes in the frame. And he says, "Do you remember me?" And I love how Arnold says to him, "I remember you, scumbag." And he says, "Especially the people you tortured and killed." And of course, the plot is then revealed that they want Arnold to kill the current president of his country, who Arnold helped him overthrow, General
Adeus.
Yeah, yep. And he helped them overthrow General Iris or Iris?
Iris.
Iris? It's not Iris, is it?
How would you even? I don't even know. Arius. Arius. Arius.
Yeah, I think it's that. So call me
I'll call him Aris.
Aris, yeah. Right. So basically, Arnie says, or Matrix says, "Why don't you get Bennett to do it?" He likes to kill, and he says to him, "You're training Matrix." So when Arnold tells him to get fucked, and they bring Jenny out, and they threaten, put a blade to her throat, and say, "We'll kill your daughter if you don't do this." So he has to he's being forced into doing this. So they're going to kill his daughter. I love how he says, "You bastards." He's real serious. He's like trying to get the acting chops on here, but it's not working for him.
He's doing his best.
Yeah. And then we have a brief scene at the Matrix house where Kirby asks, "Any sign of Matrix?" And somebody says, "No, just those bodies. Do you think there's more, sir?" And Kirby says, "If he's still alive, I'd expect a lot more."
And he isn't wrong.
Yeah. Which reminds me of the scene in First Blood where they talk about where the general says to, what do you call the guy in that?
In the tent, right? When he first gets there?
In the tent. And he says to him, "Don't forget one thing." And the man says, "What?" And he says, "A good supply of body bags."
That's pretty much the same exact thing. They set these characters up to be like these killing machines. We never saw them at their height of being the killers that they are. We just know from these guys telling us how bad they are, as like, they crossed the wrong guy.
Yeah, and the thing is that as well, another similarity is that they both say that these generals taught them to be killers, and they just can't switch it off. Once they start, that's it. You can't stop them. So then we go to the airport, and Bennett tells Matrix that Sully's to watch him get on the plane, and Henriquez is to stay with him to make sure he gets off it. And if he doesn't hear from either of them, his daughter's dead. And Arnie asks him, "How much are they paying you, Bennett?" And
they offered me $100,000, but once they told me it was you, I said I'd do it for free.
I said I'd do it for free. He's raging too, and he gets into the car, he's raging. And that enrages Arnold. That enrages Matrix. Matrix is almost like, can't believe it. He's like, "What? I can understand if they were paying you, but you're doing it for free." That enrages him. And that's why he kind of runs to the door and he says to Bennett, "I'll be back, Bennett." And I love this line when Bennett turns and says to him, "John, I'll be ready, John.
I'll be ready, John." I love that these two. This is one thing I was reading about their characters, is that supposedly Bennett, not only does he want to kill John Matrix, but he's also in love with him, which is, you can kind of see that.
Well, I have heard this theory. I don't know where it came from. They mentioned it on a special feature on the Blu-ray, that they think that there's a homosexual undertone going on here, whereas that Matrix is actually, as you say, in love. Sorry, Bennett is in love with Matrix, but because he can't have him, the only thing he wants to do then is kill him.
Yeah, well, I could see it. The way he like fetishizes over him is crazy. I mean, and also let's not forget, the Judas Priest did wear clothes like that, and Robert Halford, the lead singer, Judas Priest, did turn out to be a gay man. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
shocked.
Yeah. Well, he really does admire Matrix. You know,
Yeah, he's like
he
impressed
very
with him the whole time.
he doesn't really say anything bad about him. He does admire him as a soldier and as a warrior. And there's even scenes in this, John, where he kind of, or maybe it's not, maybe it's only dawning on me now, where he's kind of a wee bit protective of the daughter. But it's dawned on me now he's protective of the daughter because he knows that's the thing that's going to save his own life when it comes to the crunch. He knows, see that line where he says about, I'll be ready, John. He knows that Matrix is coming back no matter what because he tells that to General Ares later on. He tells him that he's coming back here whether his daughter's dead or alive, and the only thing between him and you, or him and you, is me. And he also says as well is that I've got the edge because I have his daughter. So there is that too. There's part of me thought he was protective of his daughter because of that love and admiration for Matrix, but it's probably more that than anything.
Oh yeah, he'll be ready. So let's just hope he really is.
Yeah,
And what Sully's played by David Patrick Kelly, and that's most famous from The Warriors. But I've been actually
yeah.
watching him a lot from Twin Peaks recently. Very underrated actor, very distinct voice.
Yeah, he's very distinctive because he's very short as well, and he always seems to play heavies, doesn't he? He always seems to play the bad guy or heavies. I remember him being in The Warriors, and he was also in The Crow.
And he's in Malcolm X also. He always does play a bad guy, even on Twin Peaks. Like he's not necessarily a bad guy, but he's friends with a bad. He's like so he's always on the villainous side. But I've seen interviews with him. He seems like a cool guy.
Yeah, he seems dead on. He seems like to be honest with you, he seems like a real artist. You know what I mean? He does seem like a real, just wants to be a real actor. And
His performance is actually the way he delivers lines is better than everybody else in the movie.
one thing I do like about him is, as you say, the role he's playing in this is a smarmy kind of slamey, twerp. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And when I've seen him in other roles, he's not like that, So he does play it well, and that kind of 80s suit he's wearing, he's almost like a pimp, but yeah, he's very unlikable.
Yeah, he's a douchebag in this movie, especially when we see him how he treats Ray Dong Chung.
Yeah, well,
Cindy.
that's what happens when they rave in the airport here, and he makes a comment. He gives Matrix money, and he says to him about take as long as you want, so we can have a good time with your daughter. He says, "Go and buy yourself a drink," and that's when he says to him, "You're a funny guy, Sully. That's why I'm going to kill you last.
You're a funny guy, Sully. I like you. That's
I
why
like
I'll
you."
kill you last.
Yeah, which is a great line, and you see Sully just kind of looks at him as if, is he serious?
Yeah, he should be worried.
Yeah, he did look a bit worried. So yeah, they get on the plane. He's on the plane with Enriquez, and the air hostess asks, "Any carry-on luggage?" And I love how Arnie says, "Just him." And he says to him, "You open your mouth again, I'm gonna nail it shut." And he asks for a blanket and a pillow, and I love how he takes him out the way he
Dude, like he
hits him with
elbows
the
like
elbow.
the thing blows the whole seat back, and the freaking book goes flying, and then just snaps his neck like that.
Snaps his neck, and that's a genius plan. He puts the pillow, he puts the blanket, he puts the hat over his face, and
Now
that's what he
say the
says
one
about.
liner.
Yeah, that's what he says. Don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired.
And I have a note for later in the movie because they do show him dead on the plane. This is an 11-hour flight. Are you telling me this guy didn't start to stink at all? Like nobody ever noticed that this guy slept the full 11 hours. No one, because he's towards the back of the plane. Like they got to walk right by him the whole time. No one looked over and go, "This guy, there's something wrong with him, man. Where'd the big guy go?"
Yeah. Well, I could just imagine Arnie switched on. Know the aircom that you have at the top above your head on the plane?
Yeah.
Switch them, you had one for each seat, switching them all on and just pointing them towards him just to keep him cool so he doesn't start to stink. But
Even
those
help us-
aircoms in them planes were crap.
Yeah, that's not. I don't think it's gonna cover up. And it looks like he's like when they do pan back to him, like he's already starting to decompose.
Yeah, exactly. So so he gets up and he starts running about the plane, and their hostess says, you need to take your seat. We're taking off, and he says, "I'm sick," and I hadn't even taken off yet. He's still on the ground, and
Yeah.
so a Matrix then wanders through the plane and he escapes through the plane. Now that hatch that he breaks through, I always think, does that exist on a plane? Do they actually have like that kind of foam kind of cover that it looked like you could zip it open, but he just rips it down and it brings you to the wheel of the plane?
I mean, I assume there's ways to get underneath the plane that you could do that. I mean, there have been instances of people actually going through the wheel well and getting off of planes. That's not something that hasn't been done before. It actually happened pretty recently, but the guy died.
But with those guys, they're claiming into the plane from the outside.
Well, I've heard of it coming from the inside to the outside. There are ways to get
Right.
underneath because, like, if something does go wrong, you need to be able to, like, find a way to work on it, like, especially with
Uh,
landing gears.
from the inside. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Makes sense.
so you have to have, like, that's why usually they have engineers on the plane. But usually, from what I understand, would be front towards the cockpit, not towards the back. But I don't know. I don't know when this
Yeah.
plane existed and what plane it exactly is.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, it's a movie. You can
And I
suspend your
mean, we're about to talk
disbelief.
about him jumping out of this plane
So,
and
yeah.
into the
But
freaking water when he die.
yeah, but it's just one of those days that crossed my mind. I think to myself, is it actually like that? The plane, I know movies take artistic license and liberties and things like that. But I just think, is it really like that? So, but yeah, it's a great scene. But it's a great scene. How he climbs down there. I think it's well done. And one thing about the movie as well, like there's a few stuntmen in this movie, and I think they do a good job for this time period because there's a lot of movies that you can obviously tell it's stuntmen, and I think they do a good job in hiding the
Although
stuntman in the film.
Although when they do this actual falling thing, when they actually do it, they do a quick cut for probably like 12 frames of actually seeing the thing fall out of the plane. It's obviously a dummy because the arms are like this. Yeah, like it's just a limp thing because it's a dummy. They're not gonna make a stuntman jump out of the nose of the plane, so they clearly just drop the dummy.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. It's like Sully as well later on. It's quite clearly you can tell it's a dummy.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. So anyway, he lands and he runs out of the water. He lands in the water with some bush, and he runs out and he sets his watch for 11 hours because that's how long it's going to take the flight to get to where he's going. So he's 11 hours to save his daughter. And meanwhile, it shows you Jenny being taken away on a boat, and then back at the airport, Matrix scouts the airport. And Sully tries to chat up who we found out to be Cindy at a payphone.
I was gonna say, yep, this
Yeah.
is kind of what sets it into Arnold's mind about like, okay, with who's this girl that he's talking because he was an asshole to her. So I guess he just feels like you'd probably not like him either. Like, you help me out.
Yeah, well, I think you see him scouting like the airport looking for Sully, which is ironic because he's the smallest guy in the airport. So it's like where is he? You know what I mean? It's like
He's the
um,
smallest and Arnold's the biggest.
and he's the biggest. And but yeah, obviously he sees what has happened there. But Sully's following Cindy into the car park, which is creepy. And but Arnold's kind of following Sully more than anything. But I think you're right when he sees that he's trying to pick her up. He probably thinks I can use her. At first, he uses her just to take her car. He rips the seat out for some reason, and
Because he's too big for it, so he has to sit on the floor.
yeah, and he's sitting on the floor, and she's driving, and he says to follow Sully, and she's kind of like, "Oh, of course. How did I know that was coming?"
She is not very good in this movie, if I'm being honest. Her dialogue is delivered horribly, and then later when we get into the scene with her and Bill Duke and everything, like she's just her like commentating on it. It's bad.
Do you not like it?
I mean, it works for the movie, but I don't think she's very good.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. It works for the movie because there's a lot of lines like that in this movie that are kind of delivered like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, where it's not
Yeah.
like the greatest of acting, but I sometimes hers is like a little too like it feels like somebody who's like not really acted too much before.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's fair point. And you're right. There's some lines in this movie of hers that I liked, but I didn't write them down. But it's because it's the way it's delivered, and I
Yeah.
thought there's no point because there's better lanes to get to.
Yeah, I mean everyone's getting some great lines.
Yeah, but they end up in the mall, and Matrix tells Cindy his daughter's been kidnapped, and Sully's the only chance he's got of finding her, and he needs her help. So she's only less than 10 hours left, and or they're going to kill her. And she kind of reluctantly agrees that she's going to help. So he says to her, look, I need you to go over there, tell him you're hot for him, tell him you really want to be with him, and try and get him over here, and I'll deal with the rest. So she says, okay, I'll help you. But as soon as she walks into the pub where Sully's went into, she goes straight to the security guard, and she says, I've been kidnapped by somebody. He's paranoid, delusional. I need your help. And the security guard says that I'll check it out. And maybe Sully's buying like fake passports from somebody in the bar.
I guess he just had a connection for that.
Yeah, he must have been. And I love how the security guard comes out and looks at Arnold, and Arnold's you see Arnold, the post, no, the pillar, and Arnold's standing there. And this is all done on purpose. It has to be. And he moves back but you could still see him.
To be done on purpose. I had to be.
It had to be because that pillar is big enough to hide Arnie, but you see him kind of moving back, and you can still see like a shoulder. As if he's that big, he can't hide behind this big pillar. But the security guard then gets on his radio, and I love this. I love this. He
This
says,
is one of my favorite lines in the entire movie, by the way.
this actually had me laughing out loud the other night when I watched it again. But he says, Biggs, you there? There's a guy over here that may be a wacko. I don't think I can handle him alone. And Biggs is standing there. He's chatting up two women, and he says, I'll be right there. Want to see me go kick some ass? And then when Biggs sees Arnie standing there, he radios in for help, and he says, suspect 6'2", brown hair. He's one gigantic motherfucker.
Suspect 6'2", brown hair. He's one gigantic motherfucker.
That's what I love. He's one gigantic motherfucker. I mean, I was trying to think about what movie that was that has a similar way of delivery. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but somebody says a line like that in another movie, very similar to that, and I couldn't pull it.
Well, Arnie says in Predator, you one ugly motherfucker.
You one ugly motherfucker.
I'm thinking, is that a reference to this?
Maybe. There was another one like where I'm thinking of it. I was like, no, I can't pull it. I don't know. There was something like just the way that the guy said it, but I was dying laughing at the way this guy delivered that. Like, so Arnold, can't believe how big he is. I mean, I guess like because Arnold's bigger in this movie than like he would be in like the late 80s and early 90s. He's huge here.
Yeah, like it's huge in the Terminator. If you look at him in Terminator compared to Terminator 2, like he is huge in the Terminator, and this is just, I don't know if he made Red Heat and then made this, or made this in Red Heat, but like this is the direct year after the Terminator came out, so he's still really big. Like to me, this is peak Arnold, maybe even up to 87 in Predator, but this is like peak Arnold movie physique, if that makes sense, rather than obviously Mr. Olympia. But it's how I just like how he delivers the line. He says it through gritted teeth. He's really kind of like he's one gigantic motherfucker.
Like you can't believe this guy is in front of him.
And I love how he's like, before that he said it. He goes, "Want to see me go kick some ass?" And you see them and starting in the background watching when he's on the saying, you know, that's saying he's one gigantic motherfucker. They're in the background watching. So they're waiting for a show to kick off, and all the security come down, and the security. But you see kind of Arnie. You see Arnie standing at the pillar and looking across at Cindy, and Cindy comes out and looks at him, and Arnie kind of winks at her. He kind of goes, he still doesn't know what's up. And then the security guards all approach him, and it's really weird dialogue because he walks up to him and says to Arnie, he says to Arnie, what are you doing in here? Shopping.
Mall. There's a lot of stores.
What are you doing in here? And Arnie's like, I'm waiting for my. And then he catches on. Oh, she's went and told Emmons. And he says, you better come with us. And of course, Matrix goes to town on all these security guards.
I love that the one where they're all around him and he like blows them all back.
Yeah, he throws them all off like ants. They're like ants have just all jumped on top of him, and he just throws them off. It's like that scene in Kindergarten Cop, when he throws the kids off him. Yeah. So he does, but obviously Sully sees Matrix and he runs for the payphone, and Matrix goes to the payphone and starts shaking it. And I love Arnie's face as the glass is kind of like shattering, and he's like, but apparently in the scene originally he was supposed to just go and pull the cable of the payphone out of the wall to stop him phoning, and they went, Arnold Schwarzenegger. No,
in this movie?
No, exactly. He said Arnold Schwarzenegger wouldn't do that. He would rip it out of the wall.
Yeah, he rips the whole thing out of the wall and then flips it over and throws it down.
And do you hear when he throws it down? He's like, you son of a bitch. That's what he says, you son of a bitch. But I wrote a ruckus ensues.
Yeah, he destroys this man and the mall and everything.
Yeah, and Cindy saves Matrix. Obviously, one of the security guards is about to shoot, or is it a cop is about to shoot Matrix, and she pushes him down the steps. So now she's involved. She's just involved herself.
Now she's actually on his side because she saw like what this guy was doing. Like she already knew he's bad, but now she saw him pull the gun. And it's like, oh, he's not lying. Because I understand from her perspective. I mean, this big giant guy just got in my car. I don't know the other guy either. Like, how do I know this guy's telling the truth?
Yeah, but listen, it's like we talk about, John. We talk about the Terminator. Like, if somebody came from the future and said to you, here, listen, machines are going to take over the world and your kids are going to save it, you go, this guy's a nutcase. So this guy's she's coming home from work. She said that she was going to her advanced karate class and at 7:30, and Arnold says to her, you're not going to make it. So, and she's trying to fix a date with a guy on the phone. She's just a normal, everyday woman. And next thing is this, she tries to get chatted up by this asshole. And then this big guy pretty much kidnaps her and says, follow him. I mean, what are you going to think? But you're right. When she sees Sully's reaction, she realizes, oh shit, this guy might be telling the truth. So she involves herself now. And Arnie swings, Sully gets in the lift and he swings across like Tarzan and lands on top of the lift, which is a great stunt, like just the way he lands. He tells a stunt man, but it's great. And Sully leaves the lift and gets in his car. Arnie chases him out. He runs Arnie over, but Arnie then runs to Cindy's car, starts the engine, and then she comes running out saying, stop, stop, stop. Don't be going without me. And she jumps in the car and she wants answers. And he gives her a wee bit of dialogue about who he is, what has happened. And yeah, so that's the start of them and starting to trust each other.
Yep, they're finally on the same page, and they're going to be chasing David Patrick Kelly in his yellow Porsche in this good chase scene, I think.
Yeah, it's a very, very good chase scene here. And Matrix rams Sully off the road and it pulls him out of the car. And he's like, where's my daughter? And he's like, I don't know, Matrix. And he's like, you're not listening to me. and eventually I like how he lifts him up and hangs
like
one leg and hangs him over the cliff. And he says, I got to tell you, Sully, this is my weak arm. I like that line. He goes, this is my weak arm.
Of all the arms.
Of all the arms, weak arms. His weak arm is probably stronger than 20 of my arms.
Both arms, I'm sure.
But that's the way he's trying to coax him. And he's kind of look, I'll take you to where I was going. And he's like, I don't need you to. I've got the key. And he says about, remember, Sully, when I told you I was going to kill you last? Yeah, that's right, Matrix. You did. I lied.
And then just drops him.
He drops him. This was another thing. I told you before we started that there's a commentary on the Blu-ray, and I listened to it years ago, and I didn't listen to it this time, but I'm near certain I heard that was another stunt that they wanted Arnold to do, was like to hold him over the cliff, and he went, I can't do that either.
Like, that's his one arm, and this is still a 200-something pound man with gravity pulling him towards the ground. Like, really? Like, I don't think he can do that. Like, I get that you think he's big because you probably never seen another human body like this, but the way physics work.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually, you said about gravity. That's what Ryan Arnie says about him. He says, that's the least of your worries now, Sully. Your biggest worry is gravity.
And then this is where I noticed an editing mistake. I don't know how many other people noticed this, but when he flips the yellow Porsche back over, because he's Arnold, just flips the car back over like it's a go-kart. And then they take the yellow Porsche, but it's damaged. And then as they're taking off, you can see that they swapped out the car and the whole left side's clean again. And then it's damaged in the next scene as they're driving along. Yeah,
that's right. You pointed that out to me before we started. It's just that continuity error there. Who knows if the car that was damaged is even roadworthy anyway, so...
It might have only been used for that one sequence, essentially. You never know.
Yeah, but you see them pull up into the car park, because so they drive up into the motel, don't they? Yeah, and then I think this is where Matrix actually tells her, I've got no down where he tells her what's happening actually. I think the scene before he doesn't. He says, she says, are you going to tell me what's happening? And he's like, no. But this time he does. He tells her what's happening. Sorry.
And then she asked about asked about David Patrick Kelly Sully and said, where'd he go? He's like, I had to let him go.
That's right. So he did. Yeah. So this is where Arnie actually says that he knows that they were going to kill her whether or not he done the job or not. And she says, did you do the job? And he says, no. And he turns to the camera and he goes, all that matters to me now is Jenny. Now, is this the original Jenny? Was this Jenny before Jenny and Forrest Gump?
It's very possible. I mean, what do we got? There's 9 years. It's possible that this is, I guess it's something about the name Jenny. That makes these guys do whatever. I mean, this is his daughter, though. He really, we saw how they were at ice cream in the pool. He has to get her back.
Yeah. It's not my Jenny. It's
his Jenny.
It's my Jenny. Now I watched the director's cut as well. There's a wee bit more dialogue to this scene where he explains about where Jenny's mother is. Says that she died at birth, and as she was growing up, he was always away doing another job. He starts ramming off the countries. When she was 3, I was in South Lebanon. When she was 10, I was in Iraq. And that's when he goes, all that matters now is Jenny.
I see why
So-
they cut it. They're probably like, Arnold, I get your big emotional moment here, but buddy, it's just not working.
I actually, after watching the director's cut and then watching the theatrical cut, I think the theatrical cut is better for that, because some of them scenes, they were funny. I think they were done in that way. They're supposed to be done tongue in cheek, but I just feel as if with those cut out, it makes it a wee bit tighter, just a wee bit, yeah, it's not much dialogue, but it just makes it a wee bit better, I thought. So, and again, we get another scene where Jenny is transported to the hideout from the boat.
Yep, into that one room that she'll be in for a while.
Matrix and Cindy arrive at the motel, and he checks his watch. There's less than 8 hours. Cindy tells Matrix she is helping him to get Jenny back. So
Nice.
he's like, "What are you doing?" And "I'm helping you get her back." So while they search the room, Bill Duke arrives in his Cadillac.
Yep, the Cadillac from the beginning. He likes Cadillacs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, is that the one from the beginning? Right enough.
I'm pretty sure. Or else why would they show us him taking that?
Do you know what he likes more? The price.
I love this. I love this scene. And first of all, the interior of this hotel, I like it. I like the lighting of it. I wonder if they really had hotels like this in the 80s.
Yeah.
I like it when they start fighting though, how the glass is like clearly like made to break because it just falls off so easy. Those like little black squares.
It's made out of sugar.
Yeah, it's something. It's just like the two Terminators fighting because they go through the wall right where those other two people are like they're having sex right next door. Like those poor people.
Yeah, but here I meant to check. What's Bill Duke's character name? I meant to check. Totally forgot. I just, if you have it there.
I have it
Is
up
that-
right here. Bill Duke plays a character named Cook.
Yes, just came to me there, just as you were about to say it. Cook, yes, yeah, exactly. So yeah, Cook comes to the door, as you said, and Arnie says to her, like, pretend that you having a good time with Sully, and I just think to myself, like, Bill Duke should know, Sully's not getting a woman like that. And she tells him he's in the shower, and when he comes in, they end up fighting. And I love how there's some great one-liners here where they start fighting, and they're almost equal at the start. And Bill Duke's got a smile in his face, and he's like, "Scared, motherfucker?" And he's like, "This green beret is gonna kick your big ass."
Then he's like,
I ate green berets for breakfast. And right now I'm very hungry.
And right now I'm very hungry. So yeah, and that's where she says about, I like this line, I have to say, where she's like, "I can't believe this macho bullshit."
that was the one where I'm like, who's gonna commentate like that though?
And she's hiding behind in the corner behind, like, I don't know what she's hiding in, but she's hiding, so she doesn't get hurt. And you're right, that's when where Arnie kicks Cook through like a door. Why is there a door through to another hotel room? I don't know. But anyway, kicks through a door in the other hotel room. There was a couple having sex. But do you not find it weird that when they jump out of the sheets, the girl is behind the man?
Yeah, I that's what I thought. I think they were just trying to cover up, like trying to like have less nudity in it. I don't know. I just thought that they were it was just the way they kind of constructed the scene.
But he covered his private parts, so she could have covered hers if she was at the front.
She could have.
They're still sure topless. So, did you notice there was a camera filming them?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't notice that actually. So that means that they were filming themselves.
Yeah, there's a camera behind them filming them, whatever it was they were doing.
I guess they were making a porno.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got the right lighting in the room, honestly. That's the kind of room that you want to shoot that in.
Yeah. So they scream and they start fighting, and I love when they're fighting there. That's what it is. Bill Duke pulls the gun, and there's no bullets left, and he says to Arnie, "Fuck you, asshole," and it clicks, and Arnie says, "No, fuck you, asshole." And that's what Cindy says. These guys eat too much red meat.
That's what I mean.
And then Arnie just totally gets the better of him, batters him, and then punches him and uppercuts him into an upturned table, and one of the legs impales Cook, and Arnold comes up and asks him questions, but too late, he's dead. He's out for the count, and they go out and they search his car, and Cindy finds a document in the glove compartment, which is an invoice for a fuel company, a fuel depot. Supplies usually small private aircraft. She's getting her pilot's license, and this is where her instructor gets his fuel. Now, that's very convenient, isn't it?
Sure is. That's one of those lucky movie moments, isn't it? Like, oh, I happen to know exactly where this place is. Thank God you were here.
Yeah, and it just so happens that she's taking flying lessons.
I know, which is gonna really come in handy in a little while.
Yeah. So, but then Matrix just goes, I think this is where Ares is keeping his plane down there in one of the warehouses.
Yeah,
Where did he get that from?
I don't know. I don't know how he just kind of jumped there, like, oh, I think you know what? I think this is where his plane is. Like, out of all the places,
Yeah,
this
he's
is
like,
the one, right?
yeah, he's like, there's a lot of warehouses down there. I bet he's keeping an airplane. What? He could be keeping a speedboat, but I don't know.
He took a boat to where he was going. We didn't see him take a plane there.
I know he took a boat instead of the plane, which is really weird. And probably got there quicker than what if he had been on the plane for some reason. So yeah, anyway, go to the warehouse, and Matrix makes a comment. He says about he thinks that's where he was that afternoon. Okay. So it made me kind of think he was tranquilized, so he was knocked out when they came in. But why did he not recognize it when he was coming back out? Maybe they had him blindfolded.
It's very I guess that's the only thing that makes sense, because how would he not recognize it? But it's also nighttime. I don't know. Things look different at night. Everything blends in.
Yeah, that's true. That's
You know?
true. And he sneaks in, and he takes a guy out in one of the rooms, and then he lets Cindy in through one of the windows. And this is basically where he says there's no plane, there's no Jenny, there's no Iris, and there's no Bennett. And he says she must be where they are. But they're looking at a map, and Matrix works out the coordinates again of an
I
island.
love isn't this great how he figures it out with the ruler? Like, he's just sitting there, like, I mean, this is just like, come on, like, you know, when you cast like Mark Wahlberg as like a scientist, it's like Arnold's like this smart. Like, I get that he's a killer, but like he's able to figure out exactly the longitude and the longitude of this location. There's something going on this island over here.
He's just like, he's sitting there working at the coordinates now. Now this island, there's something happening here. Could be fucking anything, you know. Yeah, I'd make somebody in there to say that to him. And but anyway, so he works out there's something happening on this island, and then Jenny finds a photograph of a plane, which conveniently she says it's a photo of an amphibian plane, and it matches it to the invoice in Cook's car. Type 4 fuel is amphibian, and 250 gallons to fly that plane to the island and back. It's a 2-hour flight. And he says, but the plane isn't here. And she says, it's at pump station 32 at Pacific Pier.
Yeah, of course she knows, like, oh, that one's not here. It's at a different pier. And of course, like, okay, well, we're going to have to head there then.
Yeah, but she says, we're going to the pier. And he says, no, they're going shopping.
Yep, I love this is a great scene too. Good montage in here.
Yeah, so they end up going to Surplus City so Matrix can just stock up on weaponry to take on General Iris's guys at this island.
Do they used to have weapon stores like this where you could just, buy a rocket launcher?
Well, John, you're from the States. You would know better than me.
I'm only familiar with modern day gun laws, but like to even get a handgun, at least in New York State, is a really long process, to the point that I am not allowed to get a gun here in New York State. I am one of the people forbidden on the state, not because of law reasons, but because my eyes are too bad. They're afraid I'll kill somebody.
Jesus. Right, okay. Right, okay. Look, I know nothing about the laws, about the gun laws in America. So I do know that you have to fill out a form, and there's certain things that stop you from getting weapons. And you don't make me say it, correct me if I'm wrong. Your eyesight, is that classed as like a disability type of thing? So because of that disability, that's why?
Yep, I'm restricted on weapons. I can't get a motorcycle's license, and I also can't get a commercial driver's license. I could drive a regular car, but I can't do any of that stuff. My disability restricts me, which is smart. I understand. You don't want me waking up in the middle of the night with a gun and shooting face.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be like, what do you call him, man? Pistorius? Remember him? He just got out of prison.
He just got out of prison.
Oscar Pistorius.
What'd he do?
Do you know who he is?
No, I've never heard that name.
He was a Paralympian. I think he was he a track runner? And he's happened about over 10 years ago, maybe longer than that. He was going out with a model, and he got up one night and she was in the bathroom. He shot her dead.
I did hear about this. I didn't realize that was the name. Okay, yeah, I remember this.
Pistorius, yeah, and basically his story was that he thought she was an intruder, but there was people saying that the relationship wasn't great, and they suspect he done it on purpose, and she was hiding in the bathroom from him. I don't know. That's
I do remember that story. Yeah, well, me it would be like, oh well, I think it was somebody, and I'd be like, oh, it was my wife.
Exactly. See, that's what he was doing. But here, so here is would New York State be one of the tougher states to get a gun in?
Yeah, like New York, California, like those are like, those are very rough states to get a gun in. But like if you were to go to Texas, I'm sure it's a lot easier. But a rocket launcher, I feel like that's like, pushing the limits of like what a store is gonna sell.
Well, listen, over here, guns, you're not allowed guns. They're banned. You just can't walk into a store and buy a gun. Now you can own guns legally, but through gun clubs. And I think you have to. It's like for what we talked about in our last podcast, the James Bond one. Like maybe if it's a hunting rifle or a hunting shotgun, but they have to stay in the club, and you have to go through a process, as you say, an application process to get that weapon. But where I live, there's actually a street that's been renamed RPG Avenue.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think you can guess why.
Yeah.
I believe that there was a few RPGs fired up that street at one stage, at certain Land Rovers, and somebody told me a story that on one occasion that after they'd fired the RPG up the street, the next day there was graffiti on the wall. That's somebody graffitied the wall from Russia with love.
That's awesome.
So there you go. Okay, moving on. Yeah, so the police arrest Matrix. So they do. On the way out, he's obviously he has to surrender. He's surrounded by cops. They're holding guns to his head, well, guns on him, and they're taking him away in this big police truck. And Cindy rolls up beside him in the what do you call it?
Then the Porsche.
No, it's the it's Duke's car.
Oh yeah,
Duke's
the
car.
Mercedes or whatever the hell that is. Cadillac.
It's a Cadillac, and she's got the blouse and all open, and they look out, and I love how they look, and the cop turns back and says, "Hooker."
I know, isn't that ridiculous? I actually wrote in my notes, I'm like, she looks nothing like a hooker.
I think it's what I thought of. It's because she's driving the Cadillac, which is like a pimp's car.
Oh, I guess like that. I guess I can see that. I guess they're just assuming. But I mean, if these cops right away just start like hounding her, I'm like, what animals?
Yeah, but she's done it to kind of distract them, and then she pulls out this rocket launcher and fires it at the police truck, and
Well, fires it the wrong way first.
behind her, and then the next thing she turns it around, and then luckily enough hits the truck and flips it over, and nobody's seriously hurt. Matrix.
How fortunate.
How fortunate. He claims out of a hole in the back where it's kind of all the smoke's coming out. He's kind of coughing, and it's kind of like a comic book cartoonish moment. But he gets in the car and he says, where'd you learn to do that? And she says, I read the instructions.
It's so ridiculous. But again, I guess this is like the tone of the movie, so you're supposed to buy into that. But I'm like, first they'll have the rocket, but then the fact that she was able to fire it at the perfect spot that it doesn't blow up the entire vehicle's just perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. And back at the rendezvous, I've written down here, Aries and Bennett. Aries asks Bennett, does he think Matrix will give them any problems? Bennett says he'll do exactly as he's told, as long as he thinks he'll get his daughter back. So there you go. As long as he thinks she's alive, he'll do exactly what they tell him. But how wrong is Bennett?
Yeah, I know. He's way too confident. He should know Matrix better than anybody, but I guess he doesn't know him that well.
Yeah, but he does know that he will come back to kill them all at one stage.
Oh, yeah.
He thinks he's got to carry the job out first.
Yeah, I think he's prepared for that. I think because that's why you said earlier, I'll be ready, John, because he knows, like, eventually we'll get our fight.
John? I'll be ready, John. So Matrix and Cindy arrive at the dock, and he knocks out the guard, and that's when she says to him again, did anyone ever tell you you have a lot of hostility?
He's got a little bit.
Yeah, and they go down to the dock, and she's starting to whine at this stage. She's like, this isn't a plane, it's a canoe with wings. And I love how Arnie says there, we'll get out and start paddling. And these bad guys come along. So I don't know why they're coming along there. I can only assume that have they caught on? They haven't caught on yet. Were they supposed to travel with Cook and Sully in this plane? Do you think
that's possible? Because at some point, Cook and Sully are supposed to end up back with them over there in Valverde. So I assume that's the plane that they were going to take. And obviously, we know that this is one of his peers, so those employees. But you would think one of them would call him up and be like, "Oh, these people are here stealing the plane."
Yeah, because they roll up, and then our Matrix knows right away. He's like, "Oh shit!" And and then they start opening up on each other, and he ends up killing them, and the plane won't start, and if he punches it and it gets it to start, and they take off, And the fly, I like how she's like, well, we're not going to make it. And he's like, we all know. And he pulls the lever down and the plane just goes up into the sky. So he does. And that's another lane which later, doesn't that lane pop up in Die Hard with a Vengeance? We're not going to make it.
Might. I haven't seen Die Hard with a Vengeance in years.
Either have I. I remember it in the game. And it was the sound bite from the movie. But I don't know what context it's set in.
I got to rewatch that one. Hopefully it gets a 4K release sometime soon because we just got the first one.
Yeah, exactly. And then, meanwhile, General Kirby is at the ruins of Surplus City, and he tells his man to call the Federal Building and tell them to monitor every police, aviation, and marine channels in the area. And his man asks him, "What are you expecting?" And he says with a straight face, "World War III."
That's the line you were talking about.
That was the line we were talking about earlier.
He's not wrong about what happens. It's a war.
Oh, it certainly is. He knows what's coming.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even anyone, only he knows what to expect with this guy.
Yeah, exactly. And then we cut to a Bill Paxton cameo.
Yeah, a quick little short cameo 1 year after the Terminator as well. I like this. I wonder how he got this little role. It's just, that's it. You blink and you miss it.
Yeah, only for the voice.
Yeah, it's Bill.
When you hear the voice, you're like, is that? And then you realize it's Bill Paxton. And there's he's telling them you can't fly in this area, it's restricted, and she's saying, listen, the planes avoid this area. It's some kind of military testing area or something like that. So he says, can you go off the radar by flying close to the waves? And so she goes down and they go off the radar. So they're good to go. But meanwhile, Jenny starts to work on the boarded up door to escape. And outside, one of the guards says, slitting a little girl's throat is like cutting warm butter.
I'm like, how many little girls' throats have you slit that you do that?
Well, this is what I was talking about earlier, John, when you see Bennett is there and he hears it. And I love how he walks over to him and he puts his hands on his hips, I guess. And he looks at him and he says, put the knife away and shut your mouth. And I love this. This is how every scene with Bennett. I love every scene with Bennett. I could just watch him. They need to make a spin-off movie just about Bennett.
Yeah, I want to know about this guy's life. Like, because Arnold never brings up how he's dressed. He's like, oh, the Bennett I remember. Mustache Bennett.
Is it just the style of the time? I don't know. Mid-80s.
Yeah, I guess it was.
Yeah. And but that's the scene I mentioned about earlier where he goes on, he says about, oh, you're what's he called them? He says, your little pissant soldiers make me laugh. And if Matrix was here, he'd laugh too.
And he does.
And that's when General Eros says to him, he says, you're the one that's scared of of Matrix. And he says, of course I am, because I'm smart. So that's when he's looking down his nose at them. He's saying to them, you don't realize how bad this guy is, and you're lucky I'm here, because when he gets here, I'm the one that's going to stop him. That's what he's basically trying to say. Hey, you just need me here.
Yeah, but the thing is that he must know that Matrix is better than him, because even like in the beginning, like they want him, they have to keep him alive because they need him. Couldn't he just do this job? Like he even brings it up, why don't you use him? It's like, because of your training. It's like, so that means he knows he's better, but he thinks now he can take him. He thinks now this is finally the time, like a world title fight.
You want to shout at the title?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there was mentioned at the start that covers that loophole. Where Arnie does say that. He says, well, use Bennett, and he makes a comment about that. He likes killing too much, so maybe he just couldn't be trusted to carry the job. Plus, didn't General Leary say to him, I had to pretend that Bennett was dead, so General Kirby would lead me to you, thinking that you were next because all the rest were dead. Mm-hmm. And he says, I'm using you for the job because I think it was, what was the general called? Vasquez? President Vasquez, who overthrew him. He says he trusts you, he idolizes you, he held you up as a national hero, and you're the only one that's going to be able to get close to him to kill him.
I suppose that's logic in a way, but I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be playing around with a guy who's this killing machine and hates the guy that you've employed.
Yeah, I will. Well, that's the thing. That's what Bennett says. Bennett knows him more than all them guys. Them guys just see him as a tool to get what they want. He's like, yeah, go and kill him, and then I'll take my country back. And who cares about you? You're going to get your daughter. everybody's happy. But he doesn't realize that. But Bennett's the only one that realizes. He actually tells him in this scene. He says he's going to come back. He's going to kill. He's going to come back whether his daughter's alive or he's dead. And the only thing between him and you is me. And I have the edge because I have his daughter. So maybe there's a false sense of security there from Bennett that because he's his daughter, that's how he's going to be able to get the better of Matrix. And that does nearly happen later on. We'll get to it. But also as well, like you say, it's like a prize fighter. Maybe Bennett was like the best in the unit apart from Matrix. And he wants to test his mettle. He's like, like a fighter, two of the best fighters, heavyweight fighters in the world. Like we've just seen, recently, like Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. And it's like, they're both world champions, both undefeated. Who's the best? And they're not afraid of each other. And they're just going to get in there and they're going to fight it out. And whoever wins is the best. And that's it. And maybe that's the thinking of Bennett as well. Maybe Bennett's just sitting thinking to himself, I want to test my mettle about this guy because everybody says this guy's the best, but I think I'm better.
Fair enough. He does want a shot at the title, so we'll get that fight.
We're going to get it. Matrix and Cindy land at the island as the plane lands. I love how Arnie says it's the most isolated spot. How does he know again?
Again,
that map. How does he know?
He read that whole map perfectly. He knows everything about this island from that one little map.
And here he is in his wee speedos and and a wee dinghy. And he tells that Cindy to use the radio to try and contact General Kirby, and he tells her, "Don't break radio silence until you see me, until they see me." Sorry, and she says, "How will I know?" And he says, "Because all fucking hell is going to break loose."
Yeah, I wrote that line down too. This Arnold thing fucking is just ridiculous.
I know. I was like, did he really say that? I was like, he did, because all fucking hell is going to break loose.
It sounds so forced.
Yeah, it's like, oh, let's make this movie an 18. We'll put the F word in there.
Well, they already got plenty.
That's true. And then he paddles off. So he does. And this is one of the most iconic parts of this movie is when he gets on the beach and he suits up.
Oh, it's classic. Gets
It is
essentially like the Commando, what Commando to be, into that entire uniform with the face paint, everything.
And I think they used that for the poster with him standing there with the gun.
With the gun, yeah, with the big rocket launcher. That's like that's like the most famous shot from the movie, probably.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it's as I say, it is an iconic shot, and it's got that music playing that James Horner scores, building up, and then as I say, it's been parodied over and over and over again, John, over the years.
Oh yeah, this gets parodied even in such movies as MacGruber, all this stuff of just seeing somebody suit up numerous times, like holstering the guns, everything.
Yeah, Aliens a year later to do it.
Oh yeah, Aliens does it too.
Yeah, and do you remember the game? Remember the game Worms?
Yes. Okay.
I'm near certain in the opening of Worms,
they
done that. And when what's the one where he puts all the gear on and then afterwards he just falls because he can't hold all the gear?
Oh my God, what was that?
Do you remember?
Oh, I do remember. That's funny. What was that?
I can't remember what it is, but they all suit up and then afterwards he can't hold it all and falls over. I thought it was the game Worms.
He's not Arnold. That's why Arnold can hold all this stuff.
No, that would be me. I'd fall over like that. I wouldn't be able to put all that stuff on. So
now he's about to go basically go all video game on these people. I was thinking like, oh my God, like this is like right out of a video game. But I'm thinking it's 1985. Like the video games took from this.
100%. And the thing is, so that's what it is. Yeah, Matrix claims the hill while Uris and Bennett wait for the phone call, and Johnny continues to work on their escape. But I do love how they're like when he's climbing up and he gets some knockers, the music that's playing there, it's just building and building and building. You're just waiting for this to kick off. But in the meantime, the flight lands, Uris bad guys see the dead body being pulled out, and they convenient enough, there's just a payphone, like just there. Where the plane lands, there's just a payphone.
Right, just lucky enough. Like, good thing it was right there, so we can go use it.
Yeah,
a lot of convenient accidents in this movie, I'd say.
yeah. So they phone, and Uris takes the call, and he instructs Bennett to kill Johnny. But in the meantime, Matrix is setting explosives about his base, about his hideout, and he's stealthily taking out all his men with knives. When the lookout guard sees him and opens up on him.
Don't you love how he throws the knives at people's chests?
And they're just
Yeah, like that's it. They silently die. One knife to the chest. That's it. He gets them all perfectly.
yeah, silent assassin.
Well,
So shoot out.
he sneaks up good with a knife from the beginning.
You better be. You drained me.
And look, this is what he could do.
Yep, this is it. We're seeing him in full swing now. And I love how he puts all that camouflage and all on. You know, I should have come on with that on the night. You wouldn't have seen me.
Done the whole show like that.
I should have just done the whole show, no, just with the wall, and that's it. So say I'm in camouflage.
Yeah, no one sees you the whole time.
Yeah, nobody sees me. You just hear me until the end. I'll wash it all off, and here I am. But yeah, and he sets off the charges. And this next wee scene, I love this scene. It's Bennett walking down the hallway, and he stops, and you see him. He's kind of like, I've written down my notes here, John. Finger in his knife.
Welcome back, John. So glad you could make it.
You know, he's loving it. He's like, oh, welcome back, John. He's so happy to see him. He's so happy he's back. And he goes into Jenny's room and he sees she's escaped and he's like, little bitch. And then he just bursts through the wooden barricade.
He's an animal too.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. So Matrix in the meantime, he's going to town on Ares' men. You know, shooting them, knives, rocket launcher. And Kirby gets the message from Cindy of where they are.
Yeah, and he's going to head there right away. He gets there pretty fast too, actually.
He does actually get there. I mean, it was supposed to take 2 hours. What the fuck was he flying in?
I know. I mean, unless this whole raid takes 2 hours, doesn't feel 2 hours, but I guess maybe it does. I don't know.
But maybe it's only 2 hours now. Wee crappy plane.
That's true. That did say there's a canoe with wings, so I'm sure the government has something better.
Yeah, get out and stop paddling. Yeah, that's a good line. It's just bad. Right. So yeah. So I remember say this kind of turns into an episode of the A-Team. You know, where like, you know, only thing was, you know, in the A-Team that I think over the whole series, like 5 series, only one person died.
Yeah. How many people do you think died here? Because he wipes out his entire army.
Well, that's the difference. Whereas, like in the A-Team, one person died in the whole series, and it was a good guy. I'm one of the bad guys, right? And if you remember the A-Team, like I grew up watching the A-Team. I actually have the box set. I love it. And like they were firing off, you know, M16s every episode and all the rest, all types of weapons. And you know, we see like the bad guys running and the bullets were like bouncing off the ground behind, those clipping their heels, but not actually hitting them, you know. And that's what like this is when they're firing at Arnie. But when he's firing back, he's taking them out, you know, he's killing them all and he's barely getting a scratch.
That's what I mean about it being a video game. If you've ever played a video game on like easy or something, like you could do this. You're a one-man army. Like it's you versus 50 people. Because in real life, that's never gonna work. One of them's gonna at least accidentally hit him with, you know, they got more guns on him, but he's able to fight through them all, tossing guns aside, jumping barriers, the whole thing. I mean, he should be an easier target. He's huge.
Yeah, exactly. And I think at the end of one of the special features on the Blu-ray, it actually said number of good guys killed 0, number of bad guys killed 81. So that's how many guys he killed. So yeah, like he's sorry, I've just written down here the stuff he's been doing. Like he's using grenades, he's using a shotgun, and then he survives a grenade being thrown at him. He kind of like blows him up into the air and he lands and he's blood on his head and a wee bit in his ear, and then he ends up trapped in a shed. And even when he's in the shed, so the bad guys surround the shed and they shoot the shed up. They think he's dead and they push the door open and he swings down from the roof of the shed, and now he's like a pure barbarian. He's using any weapon he can get his hands on to take these guys out. He starts with a pitchfork, then he starts throwing stilt saw blades in people's heads, taking their scalps off. I love this one. This is so gruesome, where he grabs the guy's arm and he's got a machete and just takes his arm clean off.
That is a great one.
It's a really good one. And then the director's cut the linger on that a wee bit longer. But in the meantime, Bennett follows Jenny down into the basement. So he does.
And this is where we're going to get our big fight.
Yeah, well, he follows down in the basement, but Matrix is still making his way across the lawn, and he's shooting everything that moves and everything that doesn't move, because he's blowing the flowers, just the tops off the flowers and everything.
Yeah, the poor landscapers, man.
Yeah, exactly. He was just come out of that shed and used all their tools as well to kill people, and now he's destroying the flower bed. And that all has to be done intentional. Because see when he's running across, John, and you see like the bad guys in the background, and in the foreground there's the flowers and the gun. He's just going, and the flowers are just going everywhere.
Oh, I'm sure they had that set up to go off like that. It's a cool shot.
It is, and like you said, it's very much like a computer game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just like a video game. That's the first thing I thought of, and it's funny. It literally didn't cross my mind until like a minute later. I'm like, oh, but it's 85. Because when you're watching the movie, like I'm watching it now. I'm not thinking about. I'm like, it's 1985. There's no shooters like single player, like at least for another like 10 years. And like that's when you're a one man killing machine. And like they had to take it from movies like this where Arnold's literally just a one man army. I think it even says on the poster one man army, doesn't it?
It actually says on the poster, "Let's party."
Oh, let's party. Well,
And as far as I'm aware, that's what it says. But know what I think it is? I think it's one of those things where it probably started in movies, but then they made arcade games of these movies, and the only way and that's maybe where it started, and then it then went into when the computer games came into home and they became more sophisticated. Then it was an advancement on the arcade games.
that's true too. But it's just funny, like
Mhm.
how like the modern day Call of Duties, when you play like a story mode, like you're just going around just blowing people away like this. But like it'd be a little bit closer.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, watch the movie, but what would it be like if you could be in the movie and you could dictate what was happening rather than, having no control over that. But yeah, anyway, he goes up onto the roof and he makes his way into the house. Now, I heard that this was the same house where they filmed Beverly Hills Cop, the end of
That
Beverly Hills Cop.
Yep, that is true.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's
same
right.
exact house and in Beverly Hills. Yep, same exact thing. And you can kind of tell a little bit with the interior.
Yeah, you can tell a wee bit from the outside. I don't think all the outside is. I'm not sure, but there's certain bits you kind of go, it looks familiar. But then a shootout. Then there's a shootout between RS and Matrix, and Matrix does a wee roll, shoots him on the balcony, and he goes smashing out the window in dramatic fashion. He shoots him like 3 or 4 times, and then he goes all the way back, flips over the balcony, and then lands on the ground. Lands on
We
the
got to make
ground.
sure he's dead.
Yeah, he's making sure he's gone. And then Matrix hears like Johnny's voice going, "Daddy." I
How does
don't
she
know,
know he's there?
but how did he hear that? She's way down hiding in the basement. But anyway, dramatic license and all that.
But don't forget, he could smell the people, and we also know he can hear better because he heard the helicopter before everyone else. So he's got some heightened senses.
Right enough. It's like Teen Wolf, hating reality, hating senses. Yeah, but of course, Bennett gets there first. And
Mhm.
when he grabs her, she's like, "Daddy," and he's like, "No, not Daddy." Yeah, and of course, when Matrix goes down there, Bennett shoots him, and you're right. This is where the fight starts, and I love how he says, "John, how's your arm, John?" Arnie says to him, "Come over and find out." And he says to him, "No, thanks, John. I'll pass." And I love how Vernon Wells, and I just know that this has to be a conscious decision on the part of his character, that he opens up a sentence when he's speaking to Matrix with John and ends it with John.
Yeah.
Gives it a wee bit more of a personal camp vibe to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's the sell us on the fact that these two had a relationship because I mean think about it. The guy who actually does the kidnapping, who's playing this, is dead. But it's actually the second guy, the guy underneath that, who gets the final fight with him. Usually you would build up to the big boss, but it's actually the second guy in charge because they have their relationship.
Yeah, and look, and this is like, I'm not going to say it makes the movie for me, but this makes the movie better for me. This whole scene, this has to be one of my favorite fight scenes in a movie of all time. Like people talk about the fight in They Live,
I
but
love They Live
no,
fight.
yeah, but nobody talks about this enough. Like this is up there with me with a fight at the end of Lethal Weapon.
Oh yeah, it's a good extended fight scene where again like how we kind of built to this through the whole entire movie, like these
Yeah.
two hogs going at each other. We know that like this guy's we didn't get to really see him do anything. We just know that apparently he's just as strong as him.
Yeah, and Bennett's not surprised. Bennett knows he's coming. Aries is like surprised, and all the guys that he's taking on outside are like, "Oh my god, this guy's coming!" But he's like, "Welcome back, John."
He's
You know what I
excited
mean?
for this fight.
He,
He's been waiting for it.
he can't wait to at the very start where he says to him, "I wanted to use a real gun, but he couldn't because he needs him for this mission." So he knew at one stage he's going to have to face him. That's what I think anyway. But I love how he says to him here, "John, stick your head out, one shot right between the eyes." He says to him, "I'll make it quick, just for old time's sake." But
Just for old time's sake.
but Matrix is like, "Let the girl go. It's me that you want." He says to him, "I've only one arm. You can beat me." I love how he's shaking him into just fighting him hand to hand because he knows he's got the drop on him. He's the weapon. He hasn't got a weapon. He can shoot him at any time. But I love how he comes from behind where he's hiding and he's kind of like, "Come on, Bennett. throw away that chicken shit gun. And he says it about, you don't just want to pull the trigger, you want to put the knife in me and look into me in my eye and see what happens in there when you turn it. And he's standing there with a knife, and that's what I said about when you watch Arnie in that shot with a knife. That's what I'm like. Arnie's not acting. Arnie's afraid of him, because apparently after the film this scene, Arnie said to the director, "Keep him away from me." And there's footage of Arnie actually talking about the filming of Commando at the time, and he talks about Vernon Wells, and he talks about how brilliant he is. He says he's the nicest guy you'll ever meet. He says he's so nice. He says, but as soon as the director says action, he turns into a completely different guy. And Arnie did admit, he says he really does scare me. And Vernon Wells did say it. He says, he told the director for me to stay away from him. But I love how I hear as well because when he's shaking Bennett into this fight, John, see the look in Bennett's face. He's like, "I'll kill you, John." He's like, he's loving it. And that's when Arnie says to him, "Don't deprive yourself of some pleasure." He says, "Come on, Bennett, let's party." But then he says that Bennett says to him, "I can beat you. I don't need the girl." He says, "I don't need the gun, John. I can beat you. I don't need no gun. I'm going to kill you now." And he runs at Matrix, and they start having a bit of a knife fight. And Bennett slices him first. And the kind of like Matrix gets surprise. And that's when Bennett thinks he's one up on him, and he's like, "You get a nose, John. You get a nose," which is outrageous. And so they start fighting, and then he tries to put his face into the furnace, Arnie's face into the furnace, but Arnie flips the script and then starts putting Bennett's face in the furnace, and he ends up flipping him against a mesh door fence where the electric box is, and Bennett
you would think he'd be dead, right?
Well, he starts getting electrocuted, and you're kind of thinking, well, that's the end of him. And
he bounces right back.
But the thing is, Arnie kind of, I like this from Arnie. He does step back and he looks horrified. And even it shows you a shot of Jenny looking down, and she's horrified too. But he bounces off that fence with superhuman powers.
Yeah, he comes back and he has,
yeah.
He's got the advantage now. He's the one in charge of the fight. I'm like, you should be dead.
Yeah, and it's like it's true, Donnie. He beats the fuck out of Matrix. I love this where he's like, "John, I feel good, just like old times." He's like, "What's it?" And I love how he says to him, "What's it feel like to be a dead man? You're a dead man, John." And I love how Arnie's just like, "Bullshit," and turns and then
him back.
Beats the crap out of Bennett to the and knocks him on the ground. And for some reason, there's an Uzi down there. That's not the gun he had earlier. There's just a gun down there for some reason, and he picks it up and he says, "I'm not going to shoot you between the eyes, John. I'm going to shoot you between the balls." Arnie rips the pipe off the wall, throws it at Bennett, goes through his chest, and lets out one of the greatest one-liners of the movie, which is, "Let off some steam, Bennett."
Isn't that such a cool shot too, with it like coming out of his stomach with the steam coming out through the pipe? It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, he's just like, oh. Now there's deleted scenes or outtakes of different lines, and one of the lines that Arnie said, which would have worked as well, was, "You couldn't take the pressure, could you, Bennett?" and then he done it another way. He done it kind of, "You just couldn't take the pressure, Bennett," or like more gentler. But I like the "let off some steam, Bennett." And of course, Johnny's like, "Daddy," and he's got her back. And that cuts to the final scene of the movie, where I love this shot, John, of the three I couldn't believe I said I love a shot in this movie, but I do, of the three helicopters and the airplane coming round the corner and then coming in and landing on the water. And Matrix emerges with Johnny on his arm. And he comes walking down, and Kirby comes up and says, "Leave anything for us?" And Arnie says to him, "Just bodies."
That's all he left. Everyone's dead.
He did. Just 81 of them, 81 bodies. And although there was a few on the way there, but Kirby asks him to, start up his unit again. All it would take is for you to come back, John. And he says to him, "This is the last time," and this is where you start hearing the music. "We Fight for Love" starts kicking in.
Yeah.
And he says to him, "Until the next time." And then Matrix looks at Cindy, coming out of the plane first for some reason. He kind of looks at Cindy first and then looks back and he says, No chance.
No, because he's about to have this great life with Cindy and his daughter.
Exactly. That's what it's telling you. He's got Cindy, he's got his daughter back, and he just wants to live a quiet life. Like he said at the start of the movie, he says, all we want to do is build a life for each other, with each other. And you can imagine that's what they're going to do. But I do feel as if it's kind of leaving it open for a sequel somewhere. And you can imagine, I was thinking of titles. I can imagine it could be called Commando 2. No chance.
No chance.
That
Commando
would be
2, let's party.
or the Commando 2, let's party. But yeah, and I love that it just doesn't. This is a great thing that movies used to do. You have that just wee epilogue of the plane taking off and just circling around while the music's playing
That's
before
great.
it fades to black.
Yeah, that's one of the classic. If they didn't end it on a freeze frame, they would end it like that. Of course, it's gonna have the happy ending. It's that kind of movie. It would only make sense to end it on a high note like that, and it works out very well. And I don't know why it never got a sequel. It's pretty weird. Arnold, I guess, really wasn't. When you think about it, he really did do too many sequels other than the Terminator franchise.
It's funny. It's kind of like Jim Carrey as well. I just feel as if Arnie just didn't want to do sequels. He didn't want to repeat himself, and I feel as if the only reason he done Terminator 2 is because it was actually him that was bugging Jim Cameron to do Terminator 2. I think he's seen the dollar signs for that one. He was already making a good living, but I think that he felt as if there was more story there because T1 was such low budget. It was like guerrilla filmmaking, John, that maybe he thought to himself, we can maybe do it, we can do it better this time. We can do a sequel, we can do it better. And
Well, him and Jim Cameron or James Cameron are really good friends, so I'm sure that they were like come on, we can do this. Like James probably like I can make the Terminator film I want to make. You can be the hero this time. Like let's just finally do it.
No, when we'll get to that, we'll talk about how Arnold didn't like that, didn't think it was going to work.
Yeah, I just love the story. You ever seen James Cameron do his Arnold impression? It's so funny.
Yeah, I think I have seen it. Yeah.
He told the story about like after like his first failure because Arnold never really missed was until Last Action Hero. He said he called him up and he's like, "How you doing?" He's like, "Not good." And he was like really depressed about it.
Yeah, well, Jim Cameron tells the story, and I'm sure we'll get there, but we'll briefly touch on it now. Was that when Arnie found out he was going to be the hero in T2, he didn't like the idea. And then not only that, Jim Cameron says, and you don't kill anybody. And Arnie was like, no way. He was like, how can I be a Terminator and not kill anybody? He couldn't understand why. And especially at that time where he was having this kind of rivalry with Stallone, where they were trying to up the body count in each movie they were doing, so they could outdo each other. And now he's making Terminator 2 and he doesn't kill anybody. So there's that as well. But yeah, I'm kind of glad they didn't make a Commando 2, to be honest with you. And look, he didn't do Predator 2. Predator was a big hit. He didn't do Predator 2, and he done Terminator 3 again for the money. He got a big payday. I think he got $20 million, and that was to fund his run for governor in California. So I'm kind of glad they didn't do a Commando. But one good thing that came from Commando is that it did kind of like spawn all these kind of action, over the top, cheesy action hero type movies that we got later in the 80s and into the 90s with the likes of your Jean-Claude Van Damme's and Steven Seagal's and even Stallone to a certain extent as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, a movie coming to 4K Blu-ray that's kind of in the same exact class as this is like Cobra, and I love Cobra, so like I do love these kinds of cheesy action movies, just like Commando. I mean, Arnold and Stallone were the kings of this. I always thought that they were the A tier, and then Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme were like the B tier of those kinds of like action movies where, these movies kind of get the money, whereas like those movies don't get the money, so they just look even worse. And the acting by Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme, I don't think, even though Arnold's and Stallone, I think Stallone's the better actor, but Arnold's not a great actor. I just think that they're still more convincing.
Yeah, the thing is as well is that we touched on Rambo 2 coming out the same year, and I like Rambo 2, but the thing is with Rambo 2 takes itself serious, and whereas this knew what it wanted to be, it didn't want to be serious. And I think to Rambo's detriment, you have a movie like this, because a lot of people out there like yourself love First Blood, but don't like your Rambo sequels because of that, because First Blood is realistic. You can believe the story in that movie. It's very realistic, whereas Rambo 2 is like this. It's over the top, but it takes itself serious, whereas Commando doesn't.
Yeah, and I like that more. I prefer Commando over Rambo 2 night and day. I would say this is one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's best films as far as enjoyability that he's ever done. Yeah. In my opinion, I just think you can put this on. It's a tight 90 minutes and just rewatch it over and over and just have an absolute blast. Because like you said, it knows what kind of movie it is. You're not going to go in there, sit down and go, oh my God, I can't wait to study this art towards vision. No, you're gonna get there and watch Arnold bang out one-liners while the antagonist is banging out equally as good one.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen it here myself. It's a non-stop action-packed, over-the-top fun movie that's not to be taken seriously. And as I say, in my opinion, it's in my top 5 Arnie movies.
Me too. I think I don't remember. I did an Arnold Schwarzenegger list years ago here on the channel. I'm pretty sure it was in the top 3.
Yeah. Well, this is at number 4 for me if I think about it now. Terminator 1, Terminator 2, Predator, and then this.
Yeah, see, I always lump Terminator 1 and 2 together. I put up there very high Twins, but I know that's just
Yeah.
like me and my Arnold Schwarzenegger love, and I can't I can't ignore Twins with the amount of times I've seen it.
Yeah, Twins is good as well. I love Twins, and I love Kindergarten Cop as well, but I just couldn't put them above this because, like you say, it's such a tight movie, and in a lot of ways, it's perfect. And as you say, he has a great antagonist in it. I love watching Bennett as much as I love watching Arnie, and I think, as we have touched on before, a great villain always makes a great hero. And I
Oh,
think
absolutely.
that Bennett is, even though John O'Leary is the mastermind, Bennett's the real villain in this, and that's what you want to see. You want to see them two fight at the end.
There's always that you always want to see it. If you can always build up, like for me, I know we were talking about this off camera a little bit. Like we both are kind of in agreement. If you've seen our channel for a while, you know how much we love Lethal Weapon, and we've said that Lethal Weapon is a better film than Die Hard. But one reason I love Die Hard so much is I love Alan Rickman. I think that he gives even a better performance. Like that's Bruce Willis's like that's his film. But I remember when Alan Rickman died, everyone's like, "Oh, Professor Snape died," and all this. Like, I'm like, no, we just lost Hans Gruber, one of the greatest movie villains of all time.
When you get a guy like Alan Rickman, I believe that was his first movie, I think.
Yep, you're right.
Was
He
it?
was because he was a stage actor.
That's right. And listen, some of the best actors have been, on stage for years before they even go in front of a camera. And
Like Christoph Waltz was another one, I believe, who was just a German actor who eventually Tarantino found him.
yeah, and there's a lot of stage actors out there that don't like doing movies or don't like doing television, don't like acting in front of a camera. They prefer being on a stage. It's a completely different dynamic. And they love the feedback they get from working on the stage. And a lot of actors maybe move into movies or television because it's better pay. But
Actually, to say just to add a little bit to your context there, is I saw something with Denzel Washington because he considers himself more of a stage actor than a film actor. He kind of just said he fell into it, and he said, and I wonder if you agree with this, where he said that film is a director's medium, whereas the stage is an actor's medium.
Well, I could believe that. I could understand it. Like, I've never acted, I've never been on stage, but just for my love of film, I could understand how collaborative a repertoire company would be when you have a group of actors rehearsing, and it's a melting pot of ideas. Even though you're maybe doing a famous play, which the dialogue's already there, it's how they portray the characters. The actors have more of an input in that, I would believe. But when you get on a movie set, a director already has an idea of what he wants from you. And if he's not getting it, it all depends on the director, I suppose. But, directors let other actors improvise more than others. They find it easier to work with an actor that way. But then when you get maybe a director that has a particular vision, he wants them, it done a certain way. Sometimes they don't even want them to deviate from the dialogue. I know different medium television, but it changed television. It revolutionized television. The Sopranos. I know that David Chase, what he wrote on the page, his actor had to say. He never let his actors change it. Very few actors, and I did hear stories of actors changing the odd thing, but very, very few. What was written on the page had to be said, and there was no deviating from it. So I can't see where Denzel Washington's coming from there. And but getting back to Alan Rickman, I think when you get an actor like him in an action movie like that, he elevates it. And he elevates the movie through how great of a villain he plays. And then that elevates Bruce Willis because he's got to overcome this villain. And when he defeats this villain at the end, that makes him look better.
Yep. I mean, that's people pull from that. Like that's Bruce Willis's like shining performance. I mean, people give Alan Rickman a lot of credit as well. But like that was Bruce Willis's star-making performance. But I'm like, Alan Rickman just brings a certain class to that movie. And you can't replace that. You don't get many, like most villains, like, we like Vernon Wells in this, but I think a lot of people would say like he's a over-the-top actor in this film. But as a professional actor, if you're playing a serious, straight-faced villain in a movie like this, I mean, you're kind of missing the point.
Yeah, and to your point as well, Bruce Willis is still brilliant. It's taken nothing away from Bruce Willis, but if he had a hammy villain, maybe the movie wouldn't have been as good. So to have a guy like Alan Rickman there, but you're right. But Vernon Wells knew what type of movie they were making here. Like you say, or he wasn't going to be serious. He was hamming it up. He was playing into what they were doing. The funny thing to me is, I forgot the match. It was like, how can a guy of his physique, equally match Arnie in a fist fight? But you believe it?
Yeah, I think you believe it because of his like mental energy. You like think like this guy's like crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And the electricity doesn't kill him; it only makes him crazier. Charges him up for the fight, gives him that second lease of life. And but yeah, he's superb in this. I've seen him in other movies as well. He's in Inner Space. He's been in a few other
Mad
movies.
Max, was it 1 or 2 he's in? I think it's the first one. Yeah, he's definitely
Mad
that.
Max.
Yep,
I
that's
guess
where.
the second one, is it?
Yeah, it's Mad Max 2. Actually, you're right.
Yeah.
The Road Warrior, which
Yeah.
I've never been a huge fan of that franchise myself personally.
No.
But the Road Warrior is probably I actually prefer the first one over all of them because it's a little bit more of a character study. But the second one, yeah, he's great in it, and he plays an over the top villain in that too.
Yeah, that's right. That's another couple of movies I watched years ago when I was a kid, and I never really liked them, so I've never ever went back to them.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a few years ago, a lot like kind of like nothing compared because I actually enjoy Jaws, which is a good segue to the end of the video. But like, I remember when Mad Max Fury Road came out, how everybody loved this movie, and I didn't see it in theaters. I bought the Blu-ray and I watched it, and it was over, and I was like, I didn't like that. And then like it was like to the point where the next day I watched it again because I'm like, I just must have been off that day because everybody loves this movie. Like this is like it's world renowned at this point. It got nominated for Best Picture, and I didn't like it again. And I was like, all right, it doesn't click with me.
Yeah, I get movies like that sometimes, Sean, and I think to myself, did I miss something? Is there something wrong with me? Like maybe I was in a bad mood that day. Maybe I just wasn't feeling it. I'll go back and watch it again, and then you watch it again and go, no, my instinct was right. It's crap.
Yeah. Like I won't say it's crap because it is a very well made movie. It just sometimes a movie like it doesn't fit your own personal taste, and I've always felt like I can't watch an action movie for just the sake of action. I want to have a good story and a good plot in there too. Like effects can do so it could be the best looking movie in the world, but if I'm not invested in the movie, then I'm not going to sit there for 2 hours and enjoy it.
Yeah, funny one that springs to mind is you might disagree with me. Is Donnie Darko. I don't understand the love for that film. I've watched it twice, both times. I'm like, I don't understand what's so great about this film. So,
did you ever watch the director's cut?
I don't think I have. I do know that Arrow did release.
I have it actually.
Do you have it? The Arrow version?
Yeah, I have the Arrow version. Yep, I have it somewhere on that shelf. I'll pull it down. Actually, hold on a second. Yeah, right here. I got it.
Yes. Is that the 4K?
Yep. And this one does have both cuts in 4K, if I'm correct, which Arrow is one of the rare ones to do it. But I found the theatrical cut to be very hard to follow. And some people like that, but I felt like the director's cut actually extends it and explains it a little bit more, which makes the movie better.
Yeah, I think it was just a theatrical cut. I can't remember I can't remember where I watched it the first time. It had been DVD. Somebody made it at me, but then it was on one night. Funny enough, New Year's Eve of all nights. And I was like, oh, it's Donnie Darko. Wasn't going out anywhere. Hate New Year's anyway. I thought I'll fire this on. Then it was on television, and I watched it. And then I was just got the end again. I went, it's not one of those. I don't want to sit and go, I don't understand it, because then it makes you sound like stupid. But it's just kind of like, I don't get it. It's just like, what's the point in that? But look, maybe I do need to do a deeper dive on it. And I know it's all about paradoxes and all that business and time travel and all this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of was like, that was one of those movies, just you saying about, did I miss something? And then I was like, I'll go back and watch it again, see if I get it this time, because everybody loves it. And I was like, nope.
No, that we all have those kinds of movies where unfortunately just like you kind of feel left out. That's what that kind of sucks. It's like everyone loves this movie and I just don't. I'm not really enjoying it. I'm sorry.
see, that's the thing that I think, like, and you get some stick off maybe people or friends or whatever, family, or even online if you say something negative about a movie that everybody else loves. And sometimes people think you're saying it just to be controversial or just to kind of
and some people do that.
Some people do, but then I go myself, I don't go in not wanting to like a movie. I always go in wanting to like a movie, especially if I go to the cinema and I've paid the money.
Yeah, why would
like
I
it.
want to go out and hate it?
Yeah. But I told you, we were messaging, and I told you I've got this ingrained problem where if I think a movie's overhyped, I can resent it. But that's different. I can still appreciate a movie and say, well, I think it's overrated. And sometimes that can be frowned upon as being negative if you say something's overrated, you know?
This is such a subjective art form. I feel like people kind of miss that. And with the world of the online, like everything has to either be like the greatest movie ever or the worst movie ever. We can never just like see a movie and like go, no, I really liked it. Maybe I didn't like it as much as you, but I really liked it. Another good example is Dune 2 from last year. Everybody loved it. It's a great movie. I saw it
Yeah.
twice. I bought the 4K. I really enjoyed it. But I don't think it was like, the greatest movie I ever saw. Like some people are saying, like, oh, how is this not? This is going to be one of the greatest achievements in film. People are going to be. I'm like, it's a good movie. The first one's good too. It's a really good, well-made movie in a world where we don't get movies like this anymore. But it's not one of the greatest movies ever, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I just don't think you guys have, you're not used to seeing movies like this on this kind of scale with practical effects. And I think that if you like had seen more film, you might appreciate other movies a little bit more. But on the other hand, it's like, well, maybe it just didn't work for me.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you too. That's part of the reason that puts me off going to watch movies now is because you're right. Every movie now is a masterpiece. Every movie's a 10 out of 10. And it's just like right away, I'm suspect when I see that as well. I know I should just let myself be the judge, but I feel as if
it's all part of the marketing campaigns now is to like basically hype the movie up to be the basic second coming of God. And these studios know what they're doing because they invite people like on the internet or who have YouTube channels or TikTok accounts. They invite them to the early screenings and not everybody else, because now these people are going to go out there and they're going to be like, oh, it's the greatest Marvel movie I've ever seen. And then when everybody else goes to the theaters, they're like, what the fuck were you talking about? Like that movie was average. Like it's and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with going to the theater and seeing a 7 to 8 out of 10, enjoying it. That's fine. I've seen plenty of those movies through my lifetime. Maybe I'll watch it again in 3 years, but same thing. That was good. It doesn't have to be Citizen Kane or The Godfather. Not many movies are, and that's okay.
Listen, you just read my mind there, because that's exactly the point that I'm making, and that is exactly what I was thinking as you were saying it. Because it's okay to be above an above average movie. How many movies come out in a year, or how many movies have come out over the last 50, 60 years that are genuine, 10 out of 10 movies or masterpieces or classics? Every movie that's released now can't be a masterpiece. It can't be a classic. And I feel as if it's oversaturated about that. And I do, like you say, I agree. I think it's being pushed by the studios to con people just to get their bums in seats, just to make the dough. It's this whole kind of idea that back in the day when blockbusters came out, it used to be, for example, the reason that the blockbusters made money was people came back again and again and again to see the movie because it was so good. Right. And it was a sustained amount of time in the cinema, and people kept paying to go back and see it. Or they would tell their friends, you need to go and see this. Oh, I'll go with you. Or their family, oh, you need to come and see this. It's a great movie. I'll go again. I heard you talking today on your live about The Dark Knight. That's one of the last movies I remember being in the cinema forever. It was, well, say forever. It was in the cinema for a good few months. People who would normally go and watch a Batman movie were going to watch it. People that wouldn't normally go and watch a comic book movie would go and watch it. That's the way blockbusters used to work. That's the way blockbusters should work. It should be a movie. We've heard filmmakers talk about it before, John, where they turn around and they say that they don't know what they're making, whether or not it's going to be good, whether it's going to be bad, whether it's going to be a hit, whether it's going to be a masterpiece, whether it's not, whether it's going to, stink. So these are the movies that sometimes come around that people actually, go back again and again. The guy went back and watched The Mask again and again. And that movie ended up making $350 million at the cinema.
Yeah, now you have to make movies and you have to make your money back in opening weekend or it failed.
But now, yes, it used to be you have to make it back in a week. Now it's in a weekend. And there's this big push to tell you this is the best thing since sliced bread. Go and see it. And it's not. It's not. And they know it's not. And do you know why they know it's not? Because they're pushing everybody to go in the first weekend so they can make their money and nobody goes back again.
It's on to the next thing.
They know it's not. It's on to the next thing. And that's what puts me off going to the cinema a lot these days. Now, I really want to go and watch Superman. I've heard a lot of people criticize the trailer. I like the trailer. I think it'll be a good afternoon out. Cinema's expensive as it is. That's
Mhm.
the only one I'm really excited about going to see this year, to be honest with you. And I don't think any kind of negative reviews or people being negative towards the trailer is going to put me off, because I like it. I like what I see, and I think go to myself,
Well, that
Christopher.
one's already got a ton around it where it's like so many people love the Zack Snyder universe that they're gonna negatively react to that just on principle, which is sad, but that's
Yeah.
just how it is with the internet.
And the thing is, as well, from what my understanding here, is that a lot of people don't read Superman comic books. They were brought up on the Christopher Reeve stuff. And my attitude is, look, I love Christopher Reeve's Superman. I love the first two movies. I can tolerate the third. But the thing is that era is gone. That the 70s is over, the 80s is over, that era is gone. And one thing I don't like about the trailer is the heavy use of CGI. But in saying that, I'm willing to give it a chance.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the way of modern film. You gotta try and hope that like there's some CGI around some practical stuff and hope for the best on that. I
Yeah.
mean, James Gunn's movies are always very overly saturated as it is, very usually very tongue in cheek in a lot of ways. And I'm very curious to see how he brings that to Superman.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I like the idea of, like, Superman's an alien anyway. I like the idea of seeing other creatures from other planets. I like the idea of seeing robots. I don't mind flying dogs. I don't mind. I know. Just because it wasn't in the Reeves movies doesn't mean it doesn't exist in the Superman
You can
universe.
go. I always tell people this, like, if you don't like a version of like Superman or Batman, it's not like we haven't gotten numerous different versions of it where you could just go back and watch if you'd like.
Exactly. And look, as I just come back to the other point there, is that, see, if a movie's released and I see it advertised, and the first word that comes up on my screen is masterpiece, I will not be spending my money on it.
I
I
know.
don't need somebody to tell me it's a masterpiece. I'll make my own mind up. Thank you.
I don't even remember the last time I think I always say that the best movie I've seen in the last 10 years and the closest thing to a masterpiece is Hereditary, but and I've seen some good ones. Oppenheimer I thought was great from a couple of years ago, but for the most part, not much off the top of my head. I really like Babylon from a few years ago, but that's really like not really over the course of the last few years. Like Sinners that came out last week, I loved it, but we'll see how I feel in a couple months after like the hype of me seeing in theaters when I watch it at home, how that feels. But that for the most part, I go to the theater, I'm like, that was good, and that was, or it was, I'm like, that's modern filmmaking for you, where they all just feel the same and generic.
Yeah. What about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
That was great, but that
Yeah.
movie's now 6 years old, if you could believe that.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, would you put that in masterpiece category, which I'm giving off about?
Masterpiece, I consider like a 10 out of 10. So how many? I guess I gave Oppenheimer a 10 out of 10. But I'm trying to think of like what movies do I consider masterpieces over the time, like a flawless film,
Yeah.
like The Godfathers, like those are flawless masterpieces. I'm sure you'd say Jaws is a flawless masterpiece.
100%.
Yeah.
But 100%.
Yeah.
That's 11 out of 10,
I'm
John.
11 out of 10, which is a good way to segue into, since I think we covered
Yeah.
Commando
But
so well.
one last point on masterpiece. Okay. Now, one thing
Give me a
about
masterpiece.
well, one thing to be about a masterpiece is it has to kind of change the form in some way. And I see so many movies being labeled masterpiece, but they don't do anything to change the form. They're
That's
just
true.
really good movies. Godfather changed cinema. Jaws changed cinema. Jurassic Park changed cinema. Terminator 2 changed cinema. You know what I mean? You could argue The Dark Knight changed cinema, even though I'm not the biggest fan of I like The Dark Knight, but I prefer Batman from Tim Burton's movie. You could argue Batman's a masterpiece. That changed cinema. So Superman changed cinema. So to me, a masterpiece doesn't have to be flawless in a sense that, even the greatest paintings in the world probably have flaws in them, but we don't see them. I already explained last week, I'm an artist, right? When I draw something, the first thing my eye goes to is the mistakes. It's other people that say to me that's good or it's bad, right? It's the same with a painter. I can guarantee a painter will look at their painting and the first thing they see is all the mistakes, but they're regarded as masterpieces. So that's what I'm saying. So a masterpiece to me doesn't have to be flawless. To me, a masterpiece is a work of art that changes something about that art, right?
Yeah.
It changes the thinking on that art. And of course, there's the idea as well that art has to invoke a conversation, right? Or maybe change how people look at something or perceive something socially, academically. There's all that goes with it. I could argue that case with the likes of The Godfather and Jaws and even Alien to a certain extent, all those great movies that we grew up watching, that to me are masterpieces. And they're not flawless. There's flaws in every single one of them movies, but they're masterpieces. Okay, you could talk about how a camera's set up and how a shot looks and how something's acted and how great a script is and blah blah blah. But to me, there's a lot more goes into it. To me, the main point is that it changes the form to a certain extent.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. And I honestly, you're probably right about that. And that would argue, like, Star Wars, that changed the form as well, like movies like that. Even though one thing that you said is like the artists who actually makes these art forms, so I don't think they're ever fully satisfied. They could always see their flaws, even if we don't see them. And I think that's like James Cameron and George Lucas, especially why they keep even tinkering with their films, is because they probably felt like at the time the technology wasn't there. Now I could fix what I see, but the people who love their artwork see it and like, why would you mess with that? It's perfect already.
Exactly. How many directors do we know that go back and tinker with their masterpieces? If they're perfect, then why are they tinkering with them? Because they know fine rightly that there's things that they could have done better. How many directors have you heard say, "I can't watch that movie now"? And they're like, "Why?" And they're like, "Because I would do things so much differently." And people love them movies, and some of these movies are regarded as the best of their genre, and I think there's very few artists would say there's certain that some of their movies are perfect. Very few. Steven Spielberg said about Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that movie there is the closest to the vision that he had in his mind. Out of all the movies he's made, the closest vision he had in his head, which came to film, was Close Encounters. So you tell Steven Spielberg that E.T. or Jaws or Jurassic Park is flawless, he's not going to agree with you. Now, we think they're flawless because as a fans, we wouldn't change a thing, and that's okay, that's fine, but that's what I think a masterpiece is, and Pulp Fiction is a masterpiece.
That's what I would always say is a masterpiece, because in filmmaking, that changed the game for filmmaking, and for me, that opened my eyes up to the actual whole filmmaking process and everything about it, and acting, and how you can edit a movie. So I always think that one is perfect as well. But we were just talking about Steven Spielberg. And we just finished up talking about Commando. Why don't you tell the good folks what we're doing next? Because I think it's a little bit fun here on the channel.
Yeah, well, I just first of all want to say that this episode is the end of season 2 of the Let's Talk Movie podcast. I think we started last June for this series, and we started with Beverly Hills Cop.
I believe so.
Last June, and we end with Commando. And at the end of a season, we always like to do something a wee bit different, something maybe a wee bit fun. I was going to say funner, but this is fun. I hope it is. So our next episode, we're going to do our top 10 Steven Spielberg movies. Now, these are our favorites, not necessarily what we think is like the best films in his filmography. It's just our favorites, isn't that right?
Yep, exactly. So me and Dave will come here with 10 apiece, and we'll trade back and forth. If you guys have been watching for a while, I think you guys could figure out our number ones. I thought something might knock off my number one, but then I went back and rewatched my top 2, and I still had my same number one. But we'll talk about it on the next show.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. And if Jaws isn't in your top 10, then that's it. We're finished.
Yeah. Well, I think you don't have to worry about that. I've been going through a lot of Spielberg movies, and there's no way that Jaws can't make my top 10. So that's a spoiler.
Okay, well, that's good. I was only joking, by the way. I'm not one of those people that says that it has to be. It used to be, but not anymore. I've mellowed at my older age, and as I say, look, we'll do this special episode, and then we'll be back for season 3. We'll start season 3 in June, I think.
Yeah, and then we'll do that, and I think we have a special one. We're not going to reveal it yet, but we have a special one for that to start off season 3.
Yeah.
So just a little hint. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us here on the Let's Talk Movie podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed that little conversation we had at the end as well, because I thought it was great. And we'll be catching you guys on the next one, and we'll be seeing you around.